Here we are, another Saturday Night Live, Saturday, February 15th, 2020. My goodness gracious, halfway through February, guys. Pretty soon will be the Christmas again. Isn't it amazing how time flies?
Enjoy every day.
We were just talking about a little bit of a cold burst we've had. We have minus 30 here a couple of days ago with the wind chill. It was nice and cold. I was out in my shorts and t-shirts for a little while and feels great. Whereas a few years ago, I'd be dressing up. It's interesting, when you set your intent, everything's possible. And that's what you guys have all shown us. You just put that intent out there, make it happen. No matter how long it takes, you can make it happen. And your health is no difference. You can choose to be in pain, misery, or suffering, or choose to live in a balanced lifestyle, and everything comes back wonderfully, simply. Don't have to think about it. Don't have to know how it works. Follow a simple roadmap, and voila, the magic unfolds year after year. No rocket science here. So how is everybody doing? We got a little bit changes on the Zoom here. They upgraded it again. Who's first? Come on.
I can go. Well, what are we sharing anyways? The lifestyle. 1156. Enjoying it. Today is day 51, I think. And it's going great. Yeah, the goal is 6 months. That I have not achieved yet. I started 4.5 years ago, and I've never been consistent for 6 months. So that's my goal for now, and it's going great. Of course, the first 3 weeks, one month, were more struggles, of course, at the beginning. Now it's very simple. It's just enjoying both fasting and eating. Yes, of course, I do feel the obstructions when I eat a little bit more obstructive foods. But I've only been eating my food. I haven't been eating anybody else's food. So making your own food is very important. But I experiment with things like quinoa, wild rice sometimes, just food is comfort, and we all grew up eating rice or this or that, so that's kind of a replacement. And vegetable stews. Sometimes I overeat. Even if it's within 3 hours, I can overeat sometimes, and I feel it. The lightest has been definitely fruits and vegetables. And top would be raw fruits and vegetables, with fruits, of course, being the easiest on the body. But it's nice to experience everything. And the nice thing is, on Monday, the day after I eat, it's easy for me now to I can feel tired in the morning, but once I wash my colon, as if nothing happened almost, so I go back on track. I mean, sometimes it takes me a day to recover depending on how I felt in the morning. But yeah, it's nice because it's much easier to get back on track, whereas the first 3 to 4 weeks, it was always challenging because you're thinking, I can eat, and then you fall off. It's really nice to be in control. Sometimes yesterday on the Facebook, I think it was yesterday, there was a post, and I think there was a post about the breatharianism, and like the poster, and how to go to a lighter body. And there was one person who is, I guess, scared of the idea, I see that with some people. Sometimes if I share too much, when it's too much information too fast for some people. um, uh, One lady was like, isn't this kind of like being a control freak kind of thing? And I'm thinking, I want to be in control of my life. Of course, I want to be in control of my life. I want to be in control of my time, where I put my time, my energy. I don't want to be wasting it. I'm sorry, this is my life. I'm not wasting it. I've wasted it, long enough until, honestly, until I would say a big shift was the master fast for me and the master fast lifestyle. Of course, the long fast were absolutely amazing, big eye opener, but not sustainable, because I wanted to still, it's too much of a change, too fast. I don't think I was not ready. Um, so yeah, it's I want to be in control, and I thank God, it's really nice to feel that you're in control of both fasting, I mean, enjoying both fasting and eating. You have control over that. You're not a slave anymore to the food. You know how when we do long fast and we break it, it can be hard to go back to eating. You can feel like a slave again to the food, and I don't want to feel a slave to the food. Okay, if I feel tired for one day, no problem. I'm still gonna eat. I love food. I respect food. And yesterday I was discussing with one of my clients about eating lighter. She's not she's like more or less eats the standard, maybe a little bit better. And I was discussing with her how it's I yeah, she's like, so you only eat fruits and vegetables? So I tell her what I do, and how we love lots doing a lot of fasting in our lifestyle. And she's like, yeah, well, I'm a foodie. I was like, excuse me, I don't think anybody loves food more than us. I have not seen, honestly, anyone love food more than raw foodists. And I have been a raw foodist for some time, and I still appreciate raw food. And you were for 10 years. And I mean, you're eating the real food. If you're a foodie, you would be really enjoying the original food, not manipulated, and plus, like, we ate all kinds of things before we did raw food, or cooked food, like lighter food. We ate all kinds of things. We chose what we want. So I was like, I don't think you like food more than me. And I told her what I'm cooking actually this weekend. And she's like, you really enjoy food? Yeah, I put much more time and energy into my food than the average person, that's for sure. The food that I buy, how I prepare it, and I fast for it. I mean, if you're eating all the time, you're not going to enjoy it nearly as much as a person who fasts and eats fast and eat and fast and eat. You would really appreciate it more when you start fasting. It's like, a little bit of abstinence, so you're not numb to it. You're, you're not addicted and stimulated, but giving it, taking a little break so you can appreciate it, just like anything else in life.
For anybody who's done a few weeks at least of master fasting, and then go back to eating 7 days a week, my goodness gracious, it's an assault to the body when you have all that food in your system.
Mm-hmm. All of us here have done that.
So it's a big wake up call. You try and think back, how did I live like that before? Well, you didn't know any better. You're just in an numbed state and you never felt anything else. That's all it is. Yeah. It was a wake up call. And, so it's a wake up call to the senses of the physicality. And when you wake them up, there's really no turning back. Some people will try to go back, try to numb themselves up, but they're not going to be happy campers. And yeah, it's not a good place to be. But
yeah, it's funny when you say when we are numb. I always remember you telling a person on the Master Fast group, maybe the first year or the second year, and he was like, "Well, I'm not allergic to gluten," and you were like, "Yeah, that's because you have no feelings." But we were laughing, so it's a joke. But it's amazing. It's like, "Oh, thank you."
You got to pull out the corks. It's interesting seeing so many people going through their journeys and their challenges and so on and so forth, and all the excuses people come up with. And we all come up with them, but the monkey mind is not short of excuses. There's infinite excuses to to quit and to stop and to not do this lifestyle. I just had somebody, call me the other day. They're in severe abdominal pain. They went to the doctor and made the appendix. I go, enema. No, go do an enema. Every time he says something, enema. No. Goes to the hospital. For lucky, they didn't see appendix. So whatever it was, it's just plugged up. It's all it is. Like I said many times, if they put colon therapists into hospitals would be empty. They'd be empty. They wouldn't be able to keep them full. They'd be losing money. Just as soon as somebody comes in emergency, start cleaning them out. And you'll see they'll be sending half of them home right away. And the other half need a little bit more cleaning. It's just like, it's so simple, but everything in society is against keeping yourself in a simple, healthy state, natural state. It's just like, okay, it's everything we're trying to do is like a resistance. It's just to, be healthy. No, we have to vaccinate you. We have to do this. We have to do that. You have to, okay, whatever, sure. I'm not your slave, buddy. I'm not a person. I'm a living soul here, using this flesh, in this realm, and you have no say in what I can do and what I can't do. And you got to stand your ground, because if we don't do that, you don't have any rights. So you got to look into a little bit of these things and gain that understanding as well of their legal bullcrap. That's a whole nother scenario. I don't want to get into it, but they're doing some research and understand your inalienable rights, because we all have them. It's a gift from the divine himself or herself, or both. And, as long as we don't interfere with anybody else in any negative way, you can do anything you like. So be aware, be prudent, and allow the process to unfold. Hello, Sarah. Sarah's joined us. But yeah, we were talking earlier. It's well over 4.5 years now since we started. We blasted this on social media, and we've seen a lot of things happening, a lot of interesting things. And sometimes I ask myself, was it worth sharing this knowledge? Because so many people have let themselves down, not us, they've let themselves down into coming with agendas and so on and so forth. And I just, we're here for the people who are dedicated to their soul, because it doesn't mean dedicated to me. It has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with NFS. It has to do with your soul, peace, balance, correct conduct. We sing that tune over and over and over, because really that's all that matters. If we would truly dedicate ourselves to those 3 words, peace, balance, correct conduct, we'd see this planet turn around tomorrow. It would be so quick, the changes. It would be mind-boggling for people. But when you look in the eyes of creation, everything's possible. And miracles are just a walk in the park when you understand the principle of creation, right? like once you understand that basic understanding how something's created, it's a miracle for being in ignorance, but when you have a little bit of understanding, oh my God, so that's how it works. Okay, bang, bang, bang. Thought, intent, emotion, conditions of environment, creation happens. And that's all it is. And that's what we're doing with our physical body. We're just changing the environments, you know. I see so many people focused on parasites and this and that and the other thing. It's just going to spiral you out to confusion more and more when you look at these things. Like, it's a little bit tiring listening to that over and over, and it's a very, very, very deep program in all of us. We really have to be conscious of what we're saying and catch ourselves and delete these things from our consciousness, because they will only bring us to spiral us to more confusion. That's all I found when I focused on all these parasites, minerals, vitamins, amino acids, fats, nutrition. None of these things helped me at all. You would get to a certain point, plateau, and then you stop doing them and you go back to where you were, if not worse. So the simplicity of this whole thing is the art of subtraction. We work with removing the things that caused all these imbalances, and what we look at them as a simple word of obstructions. And they come in all forms. They come in physical, they come in mental, they come in emotional, and there's many, many more levels, but we stick with the three basics so we don't go crazy. Because we don't have a full understanding of it all, but we don't need to have it. You know, clean out the gut, GI tract, we call it the plasma vacuum tube. You see the steps unfolding on going back towards balance. And that's, you know, with basically nothing. The things that we use, we don't use them for anything but the purpose of subtraction, to help clean us out. That's it. That's all. We don't use anything for any other purpose. No calories, no this, no that, none of that stuff. And we like to allow the soul to reposition itself to work in autopilot. And it's a certain field strength that needs to be achieved. And it's achieved through the physicality by cleaning out the plasma vacuum. We've seen it over and over and over and over. The evidence is in front of our eyes for people who want to see it. If you don't want to see it, you'll never see it. But when you're ready, it will appear, and it will be so simple. You will say, why didn't I see this before? And, you know, I say that to myself, why didn't I see this? You know, 30 years ago, it took me 30 damn freaking years to come to this point. And it was a blessing, you know, to learn it all in that way. And it's awesome. So we continue. And, you know, we fall off here and there, but the path is set in stone for me. You know, it's no matter how many times you fall, it's always in the consciousness to get up and brush yourself off and continue. And that's all we can do. Anybody want to share something? The floor is all yours. Questions?
I might jump in.
All right.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had quite a few things on my list, and a lot of relatives coming over from Europe. So all that throws a lot of times MFS out the door to a certain extent. But you just got to do what you got to do,
Of course.
and move on with it. But yeah, it's been, although I kept at least 4 or 5, level 4 to level 5, even by them being around, just to keep things as balanced as possible, you know. But I mean, it was good to have relatives and having fun and doing all sorts of things. Although it came with, it's funny when you have, you know, it's the physical side of the things, but then it's the emotional side as well. And lo and behold, you know, I got a cold sore. Yeah, I haven't had them on for years. And then when all of a sudden it's the adrenal stress that really
Yep.
pumps that out. And when then it's funny, it comes out after you release, after things are gone, that's when it purges out, And I haven't had that for a while. So it's something that you have to cherish when it comes, as simple as that. But that's really something that I found. I mean, as I said, it's been a long time since I had the last one. And I was prone, like from a little age on, I always had cold sores or ulcers.
Those are virus.
Virus. Yeah.
Virus. You made the GANs.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I see I've got little GANs here. My little spray. So yeah, and it's but as I said, you can't stop the body from purging, because if it just does it, and that's as simple as that. And I think that's also something that you have to be in easy with as well. So you just let it go out, and it does what it does. Can we explain it? Yeah, to a certain level, but do we need to know everything? I'm agree with you. Nah, not at all. So yeah, so from that point, now I'm, as I said, back on normally level 5. That so just during the week I don't really eat, and dry fast Wednesday, Thursday, and then back, have something on the weekend, and that let's see, as it goes on, because now, even for us, all the kids are gone now from home as well, so it's only me and my wife, so that makes it a bit easier as well. So I can pursue a bit more the MFS lifestyle, And as you can see, I mean, like even with, like Rana, or the picture of the people, and as I said, like moving from one level to the other, that's all you got to focus on, and that's all I do, is my focus on where I want to go, my intent, and then stay clear of as much negativity that is surrounding us and that is forced upon us. And that's all you really can do. It's just, because we don't live in a perfect world. There ain't no perfect world. Remember, there's no utopia, doesn't exist, but you got to make do with what you've got, and the best you can, And even then, as you can see, even with MFS, the overthinking that happens a hell of a lot of times, the way I see it, instead of just let it rest, surrender to it. See, I think that's one of the biggest things that I find that I've really learned in the time now that I've been. And because we're looking at breatharianism, but for me, it's not a goal to be a breatharian. To me, it's a goal to be liberated within myself and find liberation with nature. And that liberation process goes up and down, comes and goes. And you feel, as I said, only by surrendering to the situations that you're in and by accepting it, what it is and how it is the way you get through it. Because as it has happened the way it has happened, and there's nothing else you can do about it, and you just let it go. And I think if we, and from my point of view, if I do that for myself, I find far more grounding, and do a lot of grounding as well, so that you actually find connection. And when I say connection, I mean, it's not that you turn a switch on or switch off, but it's just the feel inside yourself that you have to source. And even then, I keep it very simple in words too for myself. Because the more you complicate it, the more you have hide and seek spots. You go and hide and seek and find this and find that. But I don't very, very rarely do that now. Because if I don't understand it, then there's no need to have to understand it. Simple as that. If I want to understand it, I'll look a bit further into it. And if then it comes to me, it's good. If it doesn't, let it go. It doesn't matter. I mean, at the age of, like I don't have to climb Mount Everest. It's just a matter of, I'm happy just to look at it and be there by myself, to be on top of it. Because that's what really the whole thing comes down to. You can be anywhere you like when you set your mind to it and you go there. That's as simple as that. So that is something that is quite actually profound that you can do within yourself. And then, as I said, set your own simple world around you. Because that's all it comes down. That's where, like when you look at Steve doing his own veggies, if you grow your own food, do your own little things and enjoy them as a living being. That's where I see the pleasure of life, and not going in to get the next gadget and the next this and the next that, but living your own means and live as frugal and minimalistic as you can to make sure that you don't, because anything else is distraction from my point of view. And that's what I feel. I feel distracted from, when even see all these relatives coming in. They're coming and they distract me, you know what I mean? Like they bring all sorts of, and that's good. I mean, we had very good discussions and so on, but I even then said, like, showed them how to surrender a bit more, you know what I mean? How to surrender. I said, why do you want to know all this? Why do you want to, why are you so eager? Because at the end, all the knowledge that we've gained in our society, in our world, has got us where we are. And nobody's happy where we are, is it? Nobody. Everybody's unhappy about this. And I think, well, but that's where we got to with all the knowledge. And now you want more knowledge and you want more of this. Where does that go? Where does that get us? See, you know, so just a reflection, because it's the same thing, you know, reflection is very important too, that you reflect, what have I been doing, and so on and so on. So yeah, so it's a journey, and I feel quite, as I said, relaxed, because even if you eat the wrong food, okay, well, that's the way it is, but it's the, you know where you got to go, you know where you switched on. And just even now, being, I don't know, day 4 or so again, it's just something that liberates you, you know what I mean? And you know, why did I ever do that otherwise, you know, until the next time, until another circumstance comes. And I think that's important, because that's that's really my personal goal, to be more in a state where I don't get, like, where you find your own conducive environment that you can not dictate, but that surrounds you, that you have more, not so much like control in a word, but satisfaction, that you're satisfied within. And that means that it doesn't influence you so more. It's not easy with work. I mean, like, we all have, like, you know, when you're in a capitalist society where everything runs by the mighty dollar, and you have to bow, or you think you have to bow to the pressure of that, which we all do, because we don't know any different. You see, except go with the homeless. They can show you different. Live with them for a few days. They'll show you different. They can. I mean, then we call them scavenger and they're lower grade. But of course, they don't want to be in the situation that they're in our society. But the actual homelessness, or, as I said, not being driven by the whole scenario as we all driven to make $1 to pay the next bill, is something that, you have to weigh up and see what can you do. You don't want to, you see, not to separate yourself, but as I said, make a conducive environment around yourself that then allows you to be more within yourself and more within your, like, because remember that one of the hardest things is when you go on extreme fasts, you know, like I said, when you go into extreme stuff, to reconciliate back to reality that is surrounding us, the surrounding reality. But as I said, if you can actually change your surrounding reality into a more conducive environment and work on that, instead of wondering, should I take now 1 plasma pudding spoon or 2.5 spoons? That's irrelevant, you know what I mean? It's more, find your own satisfaction, your reality, change your reality around you, work on points like that, instead of questioning if it's a half a spoon or if it's 1 spoon, you know what I mean? Like if it's 2 milliliters or 2.115 milliliters of tincture. That is all irrelevant, you know what I mean? That's all in the big picture. And I think that's a lot of people have to come to terms with. Or you can see how small, narrow-minded, or how obsessed they are into the details, where all the details are really, you have a guideline. The guideline is there. Go with the guideline, follow the guide, and do what's right. Not feel but it says that, got to do that now. Who cares? I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's the liberation I'm talking about, or getting yourself away from stuff. But that's where you can see that's how entrenched things are. And as I said, the more you go out, and that's something that I do very, very religiously, go out and just be with nature, because that's where remember I said that many times, that's where my yardstick is. And that's actually quite something funny that I look at. The more I look into this, just what does it mean, yardstick nature? What does it actually include? Because yeah, it's MFS protocol is not written on a tree out there, you know what I mean? But it's that connection. The more you clear obstructions, the more you feel lighter, the more you then feel drawn to that way of living. And then small things will tell you or give you inspiration. Just sitting, like we went yesterday, we took the dogs and we went right out to Headland. And it was a very nice view and all this. And you sit there and you just you embrace the moment. And all of a sudden, it's just that desireless feeling comes to you. That you absorb all that and you see the magnificent situation as it is. And that to me just is fuel that tells me this is what really where we should be far more than running around in circles and making ourselves stupid, you know. And that's where it comes back to Alan Watts, you know, the meaning of life is just to be alive. It's that simple. It's that simple. And if we just keep that, as I said, that simplicity, and that's what I try, and that's what I'm saying, go out there, find connection and find yardsticks and find, like just Rana said, you know, prepare your food. But you're not, because how should we eat? Wholesome, seasonal, and local. All right? Now just think about that. 3 points. Where do you find wholesome food that is seasonal and that is local? I can't find it in any of the shops here. I'm sorry, I can't. Until you start planting it on your own, and then even then follow nature's principles, you can't get there. So yes, you have to make do with what you get given or what is surrounding, but I'm just saying, but even that surrounds to that. But understand that's where you have to shift. That's where you actually have to change within yourself things and start to learn to grow your own food. Learn to what is actually involved. See, that's creating then a reality, and like Steve could go on that quite a bit of how it actually is then practiced. I mean, I've seen that my old man did that. We had a little family garden in the city where I grew up, and he always went and grew his own food. The only thing he did, he plowed, he herbicide, he fertilized, he did everything that you shouldn't be doing with the food. But that was his way because he didn't know better. I mean, at the time, you know, that's another thing. Is we don't know better, but then I think we got so much knowledge and we still don't know any better. You know, like we've got all this knowledge that we should and shouldn't, and we still don't know any better. So you see how small and how easy it is then just for yourself find just the food. How do I get wholesome, local, and seasonal food? Because think about seasonal food. We can't find seasonal food anymore because you can see carrots all year round, salad all year round. Every vegetable is there all year round. So how do you want to eat seasonal? You can't, because where does the food come from? Out of monocultures, out of greenhouses, out of all that. So even that, because say for instance, fruit is too high in sugar. Let's go to follow that path. Okay, but how often you should eat an apple? In autumn, when we grew up, we had apple in autumn and winter. But spring and summer, we never had an apple. And that's what I mean with seasonal. Then you have that. And nature does that for a reason. Why do we have 4 seasons? That's how I'm saying connect to nature. Why the hell do we have 4 seasons? Why the hell do we have a spring and the summer and an autumn and the winter? And why don't we live by that? Why don't we live that seasonal? So whatever grows in, whatever's supposed to grow in season, in summer or in spring, we'll have to eat that. And then you move in. Because then you get nutrients, as we know. It's the energy, the field exchange that happens. The body knows what to do. The body, our mind doesn't know what to do, but the body knows exactly what to do. And you give them just the trace elements of this and trace elements of that, like it does in the soil. Bingo, it does it. It doesn't need it 24/7, the same thing over and over. And that's the same with what Rana said, you know, it's that overfeeding of of everything we need, because recommended daily intake. What the hell does that mean? You know what I mean? Of minerals, of vitamins. Who cares? Who made that up? See, that's where your people completely trapped. And that's what I'm saying. That's where you got to liberate yourself. Let that out. Because I need so much vitamin C and B12, and I need this, and I need, and probiotics and amino acids. Hell, nature does all that. And that's what I'm saying. So it's seasonal. That's really what it comes down to. And then really, that's what I've started looking, is go to farmers markets and see if I can buy just seasonal stuff there. Because once you actually MFSing, how much food do you really need? Think about it. Very little. Even if you go to farmers market where it's more expensive, but you learn to live with less and less and less. Then that's where I think where then the goalpost or the vision of a breatharianism. And it doesn't mean that you have to live without food and water, but think about the idea that your body's actually able to live on energy that is supplied, that is already there, on the air, on the sun, on the soil, that you can actually absorb and learn to absorb that. How? Not by going eating McDonald's and KFC and then thinking, now I have a little bit of pranic energy feast. That doesn't work, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying, that cleansing, that clean, to clear out, to be as clean as possible and go on. I think that's something that, I find I do for myself. And the more I keep thinking in that realm, and that's why isn't that lovely, isn't that funny? And it's so great that we can be liberating yourself by getting rid of obstruction with MFS. You get yourself in different realms. Wherever you want to go, you better go and believe. You know what I mean? Like look at how many stories we had in this group of people living in different or having access to different realms. You know, all of a sudden they have, awakenings here. Look at Diana, she has access, Ranji's one. There's a lot of people that have completely different access because of why? They're clean and they're minimalistic. They don't go overboard with things. Some people have the access and want access. Some people don't. It's then up to the individual. Wherever you want to go is wherever you want to go. As simple as that. But I think it's nice to see that. And then when you see then, like even with Elitom, when you follow him on his sites, what he does and how he does it and how simple he lives, how he spreads a message, But minimalistic. Has got nothing. Does he need anything? No, because at the end, I think that's something, instead of thinking about, I've got to have another investment and how's my investment portfolio going so I can afford this and I can afford that. That is an entrenchment for me. That's an entrenchment, fine. If that's what drives you, go. But that's something that at the end, like in my age, I've seen enough people dying, close people dying. Nothing, they didn't take anything with them. You see, it's just, you go. And I think that is something that, again, for me, is profound. And then I say, well, everybody goes. And then I think, well, okay, but then I can die much easier because I think I've done something for my children. Yeah, but have you actually educated your children to be a natural being or what a natural state means? Myself only got late to this in my life, to learn about that. But it's never too late. And it's never too late to pass on the message because, if you want to, you can only save yourself, but if I see where society gets us, and I'm not sure where we're going, it's not, as you can see with this spread of viruses and illnesses and all the rest of it, okay, off we go. Let's get some more research done. Let's do some more investigation, more scientific stuff.
More vax.
That's correct. So all that, is that a solution? I don't see that as a solution. But we're so entrenched in it, we can't see any other way. And that's why I think it's very great. You have to be very grateful for a group like this as well, to see that there is another way, there's another enlightenment for yourself, that you can liberate yourself. And that's all I try to do for myself, as hard as it is. But I don't even find it hard anymore. Because why? But you do it naturally. So you do it naturally. So that means you don't have to actually, how should I say, follow. Once you have all the, you know, your guidance, you know what you should do, you know what it should feel, and then when you do this, you feel better and better and better. And the more you do that, the more better you feel, the more you know, this is exactly what I have to do. And then, yes, okay, as I said, relatives come along, so there's 3 or 4, oh, it's nearly 3, yeah, over 3 weeks, there was just a bit of chaos, but that's okay. It's like you're a bit in turbulence. Okay, well, okay, I'll go through this, bang, and then you go back onto it.
I want to
I think
ask,
that's,
do you see yourself maybe in the future, maybe fasting while your family is visiting? Or
yeah, absolutely.
fasting while they're there, and sometimes eating.
Yeah, I mean, I did that. I did for a few days. I said, look, I'm not eating at the moment. I just do that, and that's what I'm saying. That's to me, that's easy. And I mean, it wasn't hard. You know what I mean? Like for me, that's what I'm saying. The easiness of it, and I can understand how, I mean, I see how other people struggle and regurgitate on things. And sometimes they do that deliberately because I know that's that negative motivation. You know, you want to spread negativity and then you want to hear how, yeah, and so on and so on. And then people come back at you positive, so and so on. My brother is like that way inclined, you know. He sees everything negative, but he wants to hear all the stuff and then he can then create himself another positive environment. And I said to him, I said, it's nice for you to do that, but it's not very nice for me to listen to you. You know what I mean? The shit that comes out of your mouth is not very nice to see, but if that's what you need to do, then that's fine. I'll help you on that, you know. But it's like that, you know, like you hear all this negative. And I think, why do you come even that way? Because, I mean, I said, look, you're still on a long way because at the end, you got to change yourself. I can't do that for you. So you got to help yourself. But it's not very nice, you know, when you're in conversation and then, you know, he's getting better. You know, he says, oh, look, I know it's all negative. I said, yes, bro, it was all negative. Yes, exactly right. So at the end, if you can't take the shackles off, you know, you got to take this, chisel them off and take them off and throw them out and say, gone. Surrender to it. Surrender and let it go. And that's all there is. You know? And that's a process, as simple as that. Anyway, so what I'm saying is, yes, of course. Look, I'll probably, you know, I'll probably go away in the middle of the year. And definitely I want to fast even through that period. And it's not actually fasting. It's actually, I want to live a lifestyle. I want to live my lifestyle. That's what I want to do. And fasting is just, it's not fasting. I'm eating. It's not that I'm not, because think about it, like we can transform ourselves, our mind can transform. And as I said, a very simple example. Can you think yourself, I'm at home at the moment. Can you think yourself to being at work? Think about it, yes. Close your eyes. Can you see yourself sitting on the desk? Yes. Can you see yourself doing this and this at work? Yes. I said, you're there. You're there. So you can. You're there. That's what it is. So the same is when you eat, when you fast. I said, can you think yourself of just not eating? Yeah. Can you think yourself of not doing all the chores that you have to do to make food? Yes, I can. So I said, well, you're there then. So just live it and learn to live with that. And if you don't want to eat something, even when you're actually living the lifestyle of not eating, then actually, well, if you want to eat something, eat it physically, eat mentally and stuff. You know what I mean? Think about, oh, yeah, this is nice, yeah. That's what I do. Shop window. Okay, yeah, it looks nice, yeah, would like to have that. I've had it, thank you very much, and that's it. But that's a process. I mean, I know that's easy said and not so easy done, but that's really a goalpost that, I mean, I achieved that. I mean, I know that I can do that, and it's more the social interaction that really, that I sort of not cave in, but I just adapt and say, okay, well, look, we'll do this, we'll do that, that's fine, and so on and so on. Although, I mean, I have guidelines. I mean, certain things I just would not eat. It doesn't matter what you do, you know what I mean? But even there, I find, and I say, doesn't matter what you eat. If you only eat one thing at the time, that's great. But then stick with that one thing and don't start to mix. Where I find it really destructive for myself is when you just mix, you know, when it's just everything goes in. That's when really shit hits the fan. If you eat only one thing, that's okay. You know what I mean? Like, then that's fine. Yeah, and that's again something that I find, yeah, it's a process. It's you have to learn it and go with it. And I don't see it really difficult. But as I said, a few shackles have to be surrendered to. That chains can come off. That's all it comes down to. So yeah. So as I said, I'm back with a vengeance. You know, that's all good, because it's not. Sometimes you have to, because like, see, remember here in Australia we had bushfires. You know, like we had real, like it was as I said, it was dire. You know, now like last weekend we had rain. The house leaked at 3 spots, you know, like it, I couldn't talk to any person that owned a house that didn't have an issue with the rain, you know, like it was so much rain. And obviously there's still a few fires burning, but it's all only smouldering and nothing really dangerous. And not only that, because we had also, you know, like last December, we had water restrictions here in Sydney because the dam levels were below 40%, or like into 30 somewhere. And now they're bumped up to over 75, nearly 80% full now again. So just in that short a time, that much rain, you know. Again, that to me is not natural because of the way we influence nature. Now, you can debate that and you can go and do this and that, but that's all okay for me. That's whenever, it's just not, when it gets that hot, but it's all, you see, it's the thing. When it gets so hot, then it gets so wet, you know what I mean? It's like when I did, it's just a little example. You know when you paint and you spray paint, if you ever spray painted, the saying was always, wherever there's a wet spot, next to it is a dry spot. You know what I mean? Like you can't, if you put too much paint on one point, there's a dry spot next to it, guaranteed, you know what I mean? Because it's just the way it is. It can't get any other way. So that's the same thing. If it gets that hot, it'll get that wet, you know what I mean? And that's the thing. And then we'll have probably a cold winter too. It's the same thing, you know, not that we have minus 30 here, like you have in Toronto. But I'm just saying, that's that, you know, if you got the highs, you got the lows. As simple as that, you know. And I don't think, I mean, look, there was so many discussions there, you know, how induced this was by government because of holding the water back, and so on and so on. So there's a lot of debate, but again, we're not looking to nature. You know, nature has always burned in this continent, has always used fire to regenerate. Because you go now, just yesterday we went through burned areas. You should see how green it is all of a sudden. And that's only a couple of weeks and it's greened up completely. And that's what I'm saying. It's not, when nature goes through, although they, you know, with the heat that actually some of the fires were generated, that's where I see the man-made factor. Because normally what happens is that I mean, there's different types of fires, but the way it just goes through, it just burns the fuel that is collected and burns through the bush, and then most of the eucalyptus and gum trees, they give up a sap, and that sort of feeds the fire and travels through. But that then burns it off and then regenerates. And but when you see then the destructiveness of the fires that there were, where it just burned everything down, and that's then dead. That's dead. That's not coming back. Okay, that has to be new stuff. But what happens normally is it just runs through the forest and then regenerates. Just that burst of ash that goes in it. It's minerals. It's all about whatever it is, you know what I mean, that nature needs or the soil needs. That's really what happens. But when it becomes so destructive, and when you see the fireballs and the fireballs traveling with an immense heat in it, then that is not natural. That is not natural. Has never been, because I read a lot about that up just lately about the Aboriginals, how they actually managed for 40,000 years the forests not burning, you know what I mean? Because let it go. See, what we think fire is bad, and that's exactly the wrong way. Fire is not bad. Fire is very good, but we don't like it, so we don't want it. Okay, so because we human fantasy says no, it's no good, so we just got to stop it, and we got to backburn this and backburn all that. But by then draining all the rivers, so it's stopping the cycle of rain of water, then you generate more heat, you know what I mean, and more fuel, and that's when the destructiveness happens. And that is what I see is what we instigated. And not stopping the fires. See, the first thing we do, there's a bushfire. Oh, let's go and doze it out. No, let it go. Let it go. Oh, but houses are built there. Well, who built the houses? Nature or men? Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to be an asshole here to people say, oh, well, you just lose your house. No, I'm not saying that. But that's where you got to understand that you can't stop nature from keep going. And the more you hold nature back, the more it will, nature doesn't retaliate. It finds another way of doing it. And then it becomes more destructive of it on whatever it is, like we had. And it's then. So that's just the way I see it. And then so I'm saying, like last weekend we had, it was 4 days of real heavy rain, and even like now it was supposed to go through the whole week, but it hasn't. So, and we had a few showers yesterday and so on and so on. So yeah, I mean, look, it's like, as I said, certain parts they will see to regenerate for certain parts. I mean, nature will do it, but it will take a long time because they are destroyed. I mean, they're basically burned to the ground, and that normally doesn't happen. It only burns the fuel within the trees and on the ground, and then it moves on. And that's enough to regenerate greatly. But when it's destructive like that, yeah, that's it. Yeah, so anyway, all good here.
Excellent.
All good in the hood.
A quick question about that. Remember that crystal that we charged?
Yeah.
Was that the one you used on the water?
No. Oh yeah, no. Yeah. Because I did two. You see, I had I was a rose crystal, and it was the black one. What's it called? Amethyst. I did both of them now, and the one is that I use in the water. Yes. Now that's, I mean, so see, I used for my colon cleanser that I have. I used now. I made an extra attachment where I use a crystal, so the water actually goes past it, and that's actually a profound difference in feel. You can actually feel the softness of the water actually going into your bowel and going into your colon. So that is actually, that is an absolute treat. Yeah, that is definitely, because before, remember, I had a white crystal, just a normal quartz, and then we charged that rose quartz, and I put that in. And again, like it is, I could not believe having it with or without the differences that makes actually to, so even for that, like whoever uses a Colima board or even an enema, just have a crystal and basically just touch the water bag, or just have the intent to have the crystal's energy going into the water. See, there are things that you will feel make a difference. So you will find a better saturation and a better smoothness going the water into you than without. So just try and give that a go, everybody. Like have a quartz. I mean, maybe Gino can in one session can have his amplifier or whatever his supercharger that he's got.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you can do it via internet, right?
Yeah. Because that's what we did. We just did it over the internet. That's what the field strength is, and it does. You see, I even tried it. Like while the relatives here, and we drank some wine, tasting of the wine before the crystal intent and after. You know what I mean? And everybody could recognize the difference. So there you go. So there's Gino's crystal. So if you got, hang on, I've got a few more crystals here because I'm leaving. Yeah.
I need this back. Put that back.
See, that's where. See, I've got several crystals here, which I, by the way, use on my computers just to hold off electromagnetic fields. So you see, he's got that now, a supercharged thing. So the more you have crystals on it, and I didn't, like you think this is all a load of bullshit, but I mean, me saying that then I used one of these crystals, like rose crystals, and and let the water run through past it before it enters the colon. Ladies and gentlemen, it makes a difference, and you'll feel that. I can guarantee you'll feel that, 100%. So that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, get yourself a quartz crystal. Simple. You can find
Yeah.
them anywhere. This size, or you can get them smaller. You can get them bigger.
Hmm.
And
And they're
you
not
know,
expensive.
no.
No. Yeah.
You know, the key to a crystal. This one I chipped it, but the tip, like you want natural. You
Yeah.
don't want better. I feel better natural, but whatever you can find. And the tip, you want a nice sharp point. That's what you want to look for.
Yeah.
Like these are naturally grown. This grows this way, right?
Hmm.
It's not cut by
not polished or a cut, you know.
It's cut like, and the clearer they are, you know, you look for the clarity. If it's clear, it's you know, you probably pay more. It's like diamond.
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah.
They all work. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And you know, we can charge it right on one of these calls, and then you can try it. You can try it on your water. You can try it on your tea.
Yep.
You can try it on your juice. You can try it on your enemas. You can try it on your wine.
No, that's absolutely, yeah, that's correct. I mean, that's where I did it, and I could not believe with, you know, that just the feel. It's just what the water, when it enters, just the different feel that there is.
The wine, a friend of mine actually did it with some wine tasters, and they were shaking their heads in disbelief because they all said it aged the wine anywhere from 2 to 3 years instantly. You know how much that is? That's a lot. And if you go into Marcel Vogel's work, he has a lot of YouTube videos. He speaks very slow, and we got to speed it up at least twice as fast. But very knowledgeable, brilliant at IBM. And he was into crystals, and he said he was able to make a concoction from a vintage old wine, program that age into the crystal from a vintage, and then reprogram a new wine to exactly that taste.
Really?
Yeah. Basically, what he was doing is, I think he was just something. He was running the wine through a hose or something with the crystal, and then the old wine, and then putting it into a new one, something like that. I don't remember, but it was a while ago. But you know, like just what we're doing, you know, with the number of creation, just bringing it back into balance, and it just changes the bond angle of the hydrogen in the water. So it's,
I mean, 100%. I mean, on that, I was watching. I mean, I've watched it several times now. It was an Austrian bloke called Victor Schauberger.
Oh, yeah.
And just the way what he did with water, you know, like, and even his sons and grandsons have continued the work that he did. How he, like, just the flow in the rivers, you know, how we completely do this all wrong when we reline riverbeds and all the rest of it. Very, very interesting. And that's the same with the water treatment, you know. He was able to, he had water spiraling that actually completely decontaminated the water, desalinated the water. Think about it. No chemicals, no membrane, just the way the water flew through the spiraling effect of the water. Yeah, the vortex of it, how it went through several different chambers, and at the end he had completely spring water there. It needed to stay for 2 or 3 days, and then it was like spring water. It just interesting, and that was in the 1930s, you know, like they didn't have all the electronics and all that stuff. They didn't have all that. And just the way that they drew or knurled and twisted copper pipes and so on and so on. So Victor Schauberger, I'll write it down. Worthwhile watching just about water, and what all the different fields. He made, for instance, I mean, he made 3 logs. He made or sort of a pipeline where all the tree logs were transported from the forests into the valleys. By the way he constructed the actual chute, lifted the water, actually started to lift the tree logs. They weren't logging down, they were actually lifted by the flow of water, and he could transport all tree logs, doesn't matter how big they were, through all these chutes down to before that was before trucks and all this and all that. But I'm just saying, I mean, the destructiveness of it was that we shouldn't be logging trees. Well, that's for a starter. But while he did that, just the way he did it, anyway, fantastic documentary, Victor Schauberger, about that.
He learned everything by watching nature.
Huh?
I have all his books. I bought them years ago, and they were tough. They were very expensive. I still have them. I kept those ones. A few books I kept.
Yeah. But I mean, as I said, when you look at the documentaries, I mean, look, it's like, again, for me, that's inspiring and very, because then you can follow through, you know, as I said, by getting books and getting more into it. It just goes very deep, you know, at the end of the day. And it's just funny when you see how all calculations were all done by hand, you know, there was no calculator or anything. So all the maths and everything else, and there was quite a bit to it, and so on and so on. Anyway, again, it's, and then when you see how they do today, how they actually put boulders into riverbeds so that the actual side of the rivers don't get washed out, it all flows through the same. Absolutely fantastic, you know what I mean? Yeah, worthwhile. Yeah.
Yeah, you know how he ended up, right? After he went to the US.
Yeah.
Killed him.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. Even in Europe, the experts didn't find it popular, and they wouldn't do it. You know, like his recommendations were completely ignored. But now in Austria, a lot of the universities are actually teaching his teach what he was saying. You know what I mean? They're actually now taking it as science and do that. Anyway, you can see just how when one person is inspired by nature, and he was only inspired by nature. By walking, he was a forestman, you know, he was looking after forests, and he observed this and observed that, and then think about the realms that the guy was in. Think about that just. Mm-hmm. How does the knowledge come to him?
Nature.
You know, like that's where I'm saying we hold ourselves so much back by living in concrete and walking on rubber shoes, instead of being out there, because that's the only way that you can reach other realms, by connecting, by being open to that, and by listening. But that opens up, that undoes all knots in your head. Simple as that, you know. Yeah. But anyway, that's it.
Get working flying saucers through implosion, right?
Absolutely, yes. They showed that in the documentary. Yeah. I mean, he says it's just amazing the different areas that he all worked. You know what I mean? All about with water and energy creation. You know what I mean? Like how just the way he did it, and we completely ignore that. Look, I mean, same with Tesla. You know what I mean? Like it's the same. Like we completely ignore that. Because it's asymmetric technology and not symmetric, like we want to have everything explained in a symmetric pattern. It's like, remember Pasteur and Berchamp, you know what I mean? Pleomorphism versus monomorphism, you know what I mean? Like same thing. Monomorphism is so much easier to understand and so much more in our mind embedded, but that's not how nature works. Nature always works on pleo. Everything is together, everything runs together, works together, and so on, is interactive with each other. Look at what we just did with the crystals. I mean, you're in Toronto and I'm here sitting in Sydney, and my crystal got supercharged. Now, how does that happen? What realm is that? How do I explain that to the Sydney University? You know what I mean? Like they look at me as a lunatic, but that's what happens, and that's what I'm saying. That's where. Why do I have to explain it? Why do I have to justify it instead of just feeling it and absorbing it and then actually live with it? That's as simple as it is. And then do I have to prove to somebody else, oh, okay, now I want to make money, so I want to go and sell this and I want to go. Well, there you go.
You just experience it. The implosion thing is fascinating when I was reading it many years ago, because that's how everything went back to balance. What do we talk about? Spiral inwards. And most people really don't understand what we're meaning, but that's what's happening. As you're spiraling inwards within the soul, everything goes back to balance. This is how creation works and cleans itself through implosion. Explosion is destruction, implosion is creation. And that's what we're doing with master fasting. we're going spiraling back inwards. We'll clean out the plasma vacuum tube, and we're creating that vortex of fields in the GI tract. When it's clean, when it's full of crap, it don't happen. It doesn't happen. I don't care how many herbs you take, it doesn't happen. And we have tens and tens of thousands of people who have verified that simplicity of this new understanding, what we call. It's so simple, and it verifies with all these beautiful, great genius minds of the past. It's all in line. You know, Tesla, Schauberger, Christ, and Arnold Herod, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's all on the same basic principles of creation. If you look at it, there's no separation. It's all one same basic knowledge. You just have to open your eyes and pay attention, and you got to stop complaining and start doing.
Yeah. I mean, see, because look, all these minds looking at the same source, and that source is that you can't change. That's the that's where creation is. That's the source. So if you look at that and you live with that, then you cannot be wrong, and you will always confirm what other people have found before. But what we do then is think, just as an example, this house is made in a building code that man established for themselves. This building code is nowhere written in nature. It's based on nature's principles, but it's not actually written, as I said, out in the bush, that the building code has to be like this and like this. So we then separated ourselves, you see, and that separation, I think, is where the detachment comes from source, because then we start to think that these codes are the complete, utter truth, which these codes are only derived from source and encapsulated so that we can build houses. But nature never builds houses, you know what I mean? Like the way we do.
It builds caves.
That's exactly right. It builds caves. Yeah, that's correct. Anyway, so there are things that when you see that, when you look at, when people go with source, can you still hear me or not?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I'm blacked out here at the moment, but that's okay. So that's what I'm saying. So I can't even probably turn myself. Oh no, here we go. Here, I'm back again. Yeah, you still get, yeah, okay.
You haven't cut out for us.
See, maybe the electromagnetic charges off the crystals must have had something to do
You'd
with
be
it.
surprised what happens.
Yeah. Oh, look. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But anyway, so there are things that I get inspired. And look, at the end, that's what I'm saying. When I feel that there's a difference, then why would I want to go? Yes, I can follow that, and I can live it, and I can feel it, and so on and so on, and let it experience. You're experiencing it. Embrace it, and be happy that nature gives you that. Yes, and that's where when you look around for knowledge, look for more knowledge that people, as I said, look at the source, and not trying to derive certain aspects out of the nature and then try to make their own little castle or their own little knowledge chamber, and they try to put that over you. Always connect back to source. It's got to make sense to you in a way of knowing it feels right and it feels good. And as simple as you can do it, as you said, with doing going with MFS, learning how to clear out your system, but then the reactions that come out of that is what you then got to really deal with and feel for it. And that is something that you got to really go slow and step by step. Because look, a lot of times, even when you look at all the natural healing circus that is around, at the end of the day, why not learning to live on your own and walk on your own feet instead of going with always somebody else's opinion? Somebody else's opinion. Why is it not your opinion? Why is it not what you can do, what you feel is right? And then minimalize that, because you don't have to convert the whole world into your opinion. Just live by yourself. Like before we had all this communication, people just lived locally by themselves, and that's all they could do. And the more connected they were to source, the easier the life was, and the less progress happened in our capitalist thinking. Remember I said the progressive thinking is destructive for me. Where if you're naturally thinking, you're looking lateral. So you have very little progress because you always look lateral or backwards. And that's as I say, that's just a view, opinion. As simple as that.
Yeah.
All right, I'll leave it to somebody else. I've been chatting for too long. Holy moly.
Is it just me, or does everybody see Steve's hair got darker?
Yeah, I think so.
Nah, it's just growing. It's just growing. I'm ready for a haircut. That's all.
There you go.
Maybe it has. I don't know.
I think it has. If we look at older videos,
Yeah,
it's all good.
wouldn't doubt it.
All kinds of things happen.
I was gonna go for level 6 this week. I didn't quite make it. I had some dates yesterday, so like level.
I love dates, man.
Oh, they're so good.
Awesome.
I had them in the house, and it was just like, well,
You
whatever.
don't need much.
No, I had like 10 of them. That's it.
Yeah. Powerful.
They are good. Oh Lord. And last weekend, when I was at the retreat, it's probably the worst I ate since I've been on this path. I ate terrible, and it was by choice, and it was conscious. So
Yeah.
it took me 3 days,
Clean her out.
3 days to clear out, feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, Monday it was easy going right back in though. To just go right back into the
That's good.
no eating. It was so easy to transition back in. That's what I was saying. That arc is really starting to slow down.
Yeah. If you maintain that you don't plug yourself up for many days in a row, it's easy to wash out, and you're on track. When we start eating 6, 7, 8 days in a row.
You don't want to ever give up on yourself. That's because
I just got home. As soon as I got home, I had that Klima board out. That's all. It start flushing.
and you asked yourself, why did I do this? Right?
As I was doing it, I was asking myself why I'm doing it.
Yeah. It's always the same. Why did I do that?
You know, 3 days, 4 days, Thursday. 4 days back into a full master fast. And I started passing them long ropes again.
Oh,
like,
gee.
oh my God.
Nice.
It's still, the body is still not coming out of that state. It's still in that purging state.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
you fasted for like 5, 6 days, and then yesterday you had a little bit of dates, and then
Yeah.
tomorrow you're gonna have some food.
I think
Yeah, I got a nice papaya and some mangoes for tomorrow, so I'm good for tomorrow.
you haven't had any stuff with the kidneys anymore.
Nope.
I
No.
think you passed that chemo.
I haven't done any kind of long fast though since last year. So
It's not fast.
Yeah, I know,
You
but
go deeper.
you were feeling it even on the shorter ones.
yeah, it was coming down to days.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you were feeling them also with shorter ones sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you look at how I went when I started, it was 62 days, and I mean it came down to 5 days.
Mhm.
I kept trying to get back on
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
5 days, and that was
Also,
bad.
yeah.
And then it's gone. It's just gone. I mean, it wasn't even an event. It's just gone. When I went on September, nothing.
Mhm.
Nothing.
You had some big challenges with that.
Yeah, big change I would say was the adding the Colima. Then like
Big difference.
huge difference.
Yeah,
It
we gotta
really
we gotta
helped.
wash.
Oh, and this stuff it's not a rose either. Boy, what's coming out now is black and oily and not pleasant to smell.
It's
Steve, maybe you should bottle that and sell that. The
There you
smell,
go.
that might be something, eh?
I'm thinking along the lines that you're talking,
there's
Well, we need to get back to local.
Hey,
The complexity of society is just too great.
Hmm.
And if you look at what's happening in China and you look at the breakdown, what's going to happen across the globe because of that, because of what China's shutting down, you're going to see how the complexity of this society is just the wrong way to live.
Oh yeah. Can you imagine if China shut down for a couple of years? What would happen to the planet? That's all. Where all most of the manufacturing is.
Maybe it would begin to heal.
Yeah, Yeah. It's interesting what's happening, what's going on, but
Yeah, this year. has
Well, I
been-
just before we came on, I read that you get this stupid thing, you don't build an immunity to it. People are getting reinfected in China.
Corona.
Yes, I just read that. And what's happening, they're dying of heart attacks because the freaking meds that they're giving them to counteract the first infection is weakening the heart. So when they get reinfected, they're gone. They have heart attacks. It's crazy.
well, Euro is moving to China.
That's awesome.
Euros.
Euros.
Yeah, that's right.
Might want to rethink that.
He's doing it on purpose, Steve. You know that, right?
How?
He said that last week, I think.
Be prepared. Don't don't be prudent. It's always
Very.
make yourself GANs, get yourself ozone, get yourself all the tools to To-
Fast. That's
yeah,
fast.
of course, the mass fasting. But I'm just saying, you have the
Fashion.
tools already available because these things, they're designed and they're not natural. And as Kesh was saying, they're designer viruses to go after certain races or whatever. But it's always better to be safe than sorry. Simple prudence. Very simple to do.
Yeah.
It's taking out the Chinese men, especially China has the planet's the highest population of smokers, and it's taking out the smokers and much more to a greater degree in the Chinese men. That's who it's taken out over there. The women.
I personally don't even believe in viruses. I believe actually they're made by our bodies. But it could be
It was
possible
made
that
in a lab, or else there's no denying where this was made.
According to space technology, plasma space technology, that's the only thing that you have to be careful about when you're traveling through outer space. Viruses. So there are viruses made by Creator, and if you have a certain field strength, you will drain their vitality, and they won't have any effect on you. But otherwise, they'll attach to you and feed off you, and then they multiply, right? And that's what happens. So whatever we believe is one thing, but whatever is fact is another. Sometimes, so
Yeah, I mean-
it's why we say don't be just be prudent.
Yeah.
Don't be saying it's not gonna bother me. Be prudent. We have the new understanding. We have simple technologies to handle this. We have the master fasting lifestyle as the base, and we use these things.
Yeah, on the master fast.
I started making mine. It's downstairs. It costs you nothing to make.
So on the master fast, we do talk about like the parasites that we don't fight parasites.
We don't even talk about it.
Yeah, we don't want to fight them. It's basically when your body is backed up, you can catch anything. But when your body is cleaned and your immune system will be much happier, and you will not you shouldn't be scared in general. Of course, nobody's perfect, and you can catch them if you're not taking care of yourself. Wash your colon, do the
Yeah.
whole thing.
There's something going on in China because they just had the pig swine flu thing there not too long ago. It was in summer. They massacred thousands and thousands and thousands of pigs. And
There's actually four things going through China at the moment. I forget. There's the swine flu, the coronavirus. There's two others that are going through. They're all going through at the same time.
yeah, YouTube took down the Kesh Spaceship YouTube video on how to make the GANs. Yeah.
And based on Eret's theory, there is only obstructions as a disease. There are no viruses. But yeah, I guess they could make something like that in a lab.
We know a little bit more than Eric today, a little bit.
Right.
No, I mean, nobody knows everything. I mean, there are viruses and bacteria, but it really shouldn't really
It's not a fear thing. It's just
affect.
have understanding, know
Unless-
what to do, and don't be fearful. Just
No.
take care of yourself.
Aren't they going
Be
for
prepared.
the people with low immune system, like older people and diabetics and people with high blood pressure? And
Smokers.
now you're saying smokers,
Smokers.
all the people who are not taking care of themselves.
The
So
immune
you just have
system's
to-
plugged up, so it's easy prey for the viruses.
Yep.
But anyway, we won't worry about that stuff. Just be prudent and
You might.
don't worry about it. You know,
I certainly don't worry about that. Maybe I'm a naive in that sense, but yeah, I see it as a great opportunity.
Good.
It's actually in the south of China, so it's warm there. You have durians and tropical fruit. I think I'll be good.
and anybody can just go there. Do they allow you to go there to live?
Oh no, of course not. But like Serbia and China have like this visa thing. I can't really explain what it is, but as soon as the 3 months pass, I can just go past the border and enter to China again, and my visa is refreshed. Like I can use 3 months again.
Right.
So every 3 months I would have to leave the country and go back, or maybe just take a subway to Hong Kong and go back to China again, and I'll be on a visa again. So I'll be working there illegally, and there's a huge demand for English tutors in kindergartens and stuff like that. You don't even have to know English to do that. You just have to be white, because the Chinese women, they like taking pictures of white clowns, smiling with their children, so they can show photographs to their friends. And yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, because they just search for these white monkeys, because the white is the color of nobility in China. And when you go there and see women, their makeup is like this powder they put on their face to make their faces white, and so on. They like I don't know.
Depends which part, I guess. I don't know. China's pretty big. But
Yeah, but when you're white in China, they think very much of you. So yeah.
Hans has experience in China.
I've been there a few times, yeah, I have to say. Yeah. But look, at the end it comes, see, where to start and where to finish, what's right, what's wrong, where's the truth? Who knows? I mean, so many contradictive stories come out of it, and at the end, what we can't
No.
see, it comes. That's why I'm saying even globalization is so destructive when we globalize.
Very much so.
You can't. You just look. Everything has to be dealt locally, and that's how it should stay and always should be. Simple as that. That's why you can see even transportation is destructive. Because you transport air transportation, all transportation. It's good for, we think it's so much yes, it enlightens, it does where we are at the moment, but I'm saying, look, when Europe had the pest, the Black Plague, several times went through Europe, destroyed 2/3 of the population.
Three
But,
waves.
I mean, that was inflicted too, because a lot of times it was just the mono food that they had, and in particular out of the agriculture, a lot of grains. And when the sugar beet came in, that triggered a big Black Plague, because people ate far too much sugar, and that then devolves in a certain sickness and so on. Look, again, what's right and what's wrong, I can't say. And anybody that, like, it's so persuasive, you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Whatever story sounds the best becomes the truth.
Yeah.
If it's true or not, doesn't matter. But it sounds good. It sounds plausible. Everybody thinks it's great. And that's now it becomes the truth. I don't know. That's where I have, and in particular with the Chinese, it's a different culture. The way they deal with each other, when you see people get dragged and bashed and shot, that's the way they deal with each other. Always have and always will. Right through cultures, through the years, thousands of years. People in different local areas deal with each other differently than in others. Simple as that. That's all it is. And we think, you know, like, you know, the Americans very much go against, you know, like, oh, you know, the Chinese are the bad buggers now because they've got all these viruses and all this. But who's not to say that, wasn't that just planted there as well, and so on and so on? I mean, look, at the end, you can do all sorts of things. And that's where with the communication, you go ballistic. You tell me what is right and what is wrong. I can't say. I cannot say what it is. You can only make your own opinion when you go there and look yourself. Okay? And then you can, even then, all I can see is what they've done in the last 20 years on infrastructure, what they've done, the way they advanced themselves, which they thought they advanced. And yes, Uros is right. You know, I mean, as a foreigner, you have doors open normally that are not open for themselves, you know what I mean? But that's only because of they looking up to capitalism.
Yeah.
But in the last 20 years, what they've done, and just the engineering power that they've developed, very soon they will look differently to us than what they've looked for a long time, you see? And all that I see, I can't change it. I don't think it's correct. It is destructive. The buildings that they've made, infrastructure, like in Hangzhou where I go, they have built hundreds and thousands of units and most of them are still empty.
Yep.
Because all they want to do is bring more people into the cities, more people into the cities.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's because you can control the people the easiest when they live all on top of each other. And then you can throw a virus and then you can kill off a few millions as well. At the end of the day, well, what's right, what's wrong? I don't know. I can't make the statement. But when I see that all we do is going to high density living, that's the same here. I can show you out of the window high density living here. That hasn't happened. That only happened over the last 10 years in this council, which is completely wrong. Completely wrong. Because why should we live on top of each other? But from a governmental point of view, it's easier to control people in cities than what it is to be when they're spread all over the country. But that's what means local, over the country, everywhere.
Yep.
That's what should happen. But that's hard to control, where it's easy to control like that. But anyway, again, I see, what I see though, as I said, the power that they generate, the capitalist power, the thinking power that the Chinese have created over the last 20 years is enormous, absolutely enormous, and that will be a real threat even to the United States.
Oh, yeah.
And is already, because the United States, think about all the knowledge that the United States has. They're all people from other countries running their think tanks. Not Americans, they're all from somewhere else. And that's somewhere else now, they have their own think tanks over there. You know what I mean? Like they have their own. When you see that Huawei has their own internet going, and that's a real threat to the Americans. When they will have 100% their own internet within foreseeable future. And what are we going to do then? What's right, what's wrong then? You know what I mean? Who can say? Aren't they allowed to have it, or is only one nation to allow to have complete control over things? I don't know. That's what I'm saying. But then you see this world struggle and all the rest of it, and then look at the news, how many problems you've got on your own, and you can't even solve them in your own four walls. Let alone we'll basically knock ourselves over from pillar to post, left, right to centre. I don't know. Yeah. For me, globalization is not the solution. If people really think that we should have a new world order, oh well, go for it. Go for it. Be controlled. Be controlled. At the end of the day, I mean, it's not That's not what I think we're here for. But that's just so. Yeah, China, Uros. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's a different can of worms, and they have their own way of living, own way of dealing. For us to point fingers,
Yeah.
Let us know when you get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
The
yeah,
one
that's right.
this whole patent, all these viruses have patents. What is that? That's
Yeah.
not correct conduct. There's something going behind that. There's a dollar sign behind that. Patent
Yeah.
for making money. Anyway, we will see. The truth eventually will come out, always. Whether it takes 10, 20, 100,000 years, it's going to come out. And we'll see what happens. Brittany's joined us. Hello. Susan, you awake?
I'm starting to fall asleep. I did so many enemas and did my Kalima just now, and
You did. That was I going to ask. How's the Kalima coming?
practice makes perfect, right?
Exactly. You're starting to enjoy it.
I'm not judging it. Let's put it that way.
Let it happen.
Yeah,
Let it happen.
Because it's way more effective.
it's a challenging day. I did a juice fast day before yesterday,
Juice.
and then another one today, and it feels. What's that?
Did Master Fast liquid?
Yes. Yeah, I had a few weird things happen. It's kind of funny, but like just my brain's so foggy. Like I tried to go up this hill while I was walking the dogs and tripped and fell in the mud twice. I mean, just things that never used to happen to me. And I thought, ooh, I'm kind of
The message, you need to connect to the earth.
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I almost didn't make it out at all today. I just thought, oh my gosh, I gotta just lay in bed today and get my juice down. But of course, my dogs don't like that idea.
You ground yourself to walk barefoot?
No, but I'm going to. That's a good idea.
You need to be grounded.
Yeah.
You ground your bed?
No, I haven't. I was looking at that post though.
It costs next to nothing to do it yourself with a piece of copper wire.
Yeah.
There's a video.
Or a handyman, we have video, or stake it in the ground. It's the safest. And then you run it across your bed, and that's it. And you're grounded.
You were cutting out a little bit. Something about a handyman?
Yeah, if you don't know how to do, just get a handyman or somebody to help show you how to. You can either plug it into a ground in the outlet, electrical outlet. You have to know what you're doing there. You can attach it to a copper pipe if you have copper pipes in your house, because they go through the ground. They'll be grounded. Or you can stake it in the ground with a piece of metal and wrap the wire around the stake, and then you run it across your bed. So you're laying on your bed all the time. So you're always grounded at night, because you're spending a lot of hours there. You can also make one for when you're on your computer, so you can put it under your feet or on your hand or on your wrist, and walk barefoot as much as you can outside, or just go outside and lay on the ground. That your skin needs to touch the ground.
Okay.
Try it. You ground yourself. It's in our tool section. Yeah, Kurt's got it. He's showing us. Oh, he grounded his dog's bed. Awesome.
Nice. Did you make it yourself?
You looking at Kurt's video? Yeah.
So I watched a few videos, and you can also buy like aluminum tape. So what I did, so it's a little comfier, put it on the inside of a pillowcase, and then flip that over. And you can buy these little clips too. So if we want to move it, you can just unclip it, and there's the wire. And
Yep.
Oh, wow.
I bought a nice cord too and plug. And
Yeah,
So it's not just a copper wire.
very simple. If you're using a ground outlet in the house, you need to make sure it's a good ground. There's a little testing device. What do I have it? Is it here? It plugs in the wall, and then the lights go on and tells you if the ground's good. They're like a few dollars each, but like I said, there's many ways you can ground. It's some scrap wire. I would. It's better you get a solid wire, not a stranded. The stranded, they start coming apart and then they pinch you. So get a solid copper wire for running across your bed. It's okay. Yeah, and away you go. It's but the easiest way is just go outside, put your feet on the ground. Even if you don't feel like lying down, just put your feet on the ground. Sit on a chair
Yes.
and just keep your feet on the ground.
Okay.
See if you feel a shift when you start doing that for a few hours.
Crystals too. No, like, I mean,
Yeah. Well,
they ground you too.
What, crystals?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I got some crystals. I found them a couple of years ago. Clusters. Little
Yeah.
clusters.
Wash them and energize them with the full moon.
Oh, yeah.
Or on
Okay.
the call when if anybody wants to do it. Simple things, very simple. Sometimes we are in a certain state of challenges and we forget things. So that's why it's always good to continuously refresh yourself, reading the protocol, continue watching videos continuously and staying connected.
Yeah.
When we're in a challenged state, we lose our ability to know what to do sometimes because it's happened to me.
Yeah. I've had some. Today was so. I mean, I don't know. I've been watching a lot of the videos and stuff, and I get so motivated. I'm like, oh,
Exactly.
I gotta go for it. I want to go for it. And so today I thought I'm gonna have another not eating day, and boy, I just didn't do well doing the meditations, or it was a tough day. So it was my own fault, but
Okay. It's normal. Ups and downs.
yeah, that's what I figure. Just keep going. Just keep, plugging away, and
Be prudent.
Yeah, you've had quite a history, so be patient and continue.
yeah,
It's just a matter of time before things start moving more and more into balance, and it's not if it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. The physicality has no choice when you do the things to work towards that. It's going to go that way.
okay, yeah,
Unless the soul says, okay, I'm done here, and then you jump the fence, right? And that's okay too, because we're all going to jump the fence sooner or later. So I want to enjoy myself when, up until the point I jump the fence. I don't want to be in pain, misery, and suffering, because I've been there and I didn't like it. It was not fun being in bed for 2 years.
I've realized one thing that's is I'm still plugged in very tightly to my mother.
Of course, we all are.
Well, I don't know. This is to the point of I don't know. I'm just realizing I'm just
In what
so
sense?
worried about what she's gonna think about this whole thing,
Yeah.
and she and I just got fed up today. I thought, no, I'm gonna do what I need to do for me. I can't be
We can't worry about anybody else.
right. I can't. I just can't.
If you're not in a healthy state, you cannot serve and help anybody else. So who do you got to take care of? You got to take care of number one first, and then you can do lots for everybody else as well.
Yeah.
Right.
I do tiny acts of service, things I can do I just don't have, I don't know. I just emotionally am having a rough time, and it's okay. I know it's okay because that's why I'm going through this for a reason,
Yeah.
you know? So,
I have to see my mother cry almost every day. And do you think that's easy to watch? No, it's not. Almost every single day hasn't stopped.
Or complaining.
And yeah, complain and so on. So it's not easy to be around. When people get into that poor me syndrome, it's not a place I want to be. But
It's pretty
I
hard.
am
It's pretty hard. It sucks your energy.
I am committed and dedicated because it's my mama. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to support, but it's not easy.
But even like, I mean, you're not there 24/7.
It's not easy.
The caregivers, God bless them, man. God bless them. Yesterday I had a client. He tells me, like the Canada, whatever, like the Ministry of Health, I think they provided a program for the caregivers to support them because they realized that the caregivers die before the patient, the person. The caregivers die, like something like this. He mentioned there's something that they're more stressed than the person himself or herself. It's crazy.
Tough job.
It's a really tough job. You will be like listening, yelled at. You will be hearing complaints. You will be sometimes like physically abused. It's just amazing. I don't know how they can do it.
Yeah.
24/7. I mean, it's one thing to go and visit them once a week or twice a week, but it's another thing to be there all the time. It's another thing.
well, I don't visit them nearly as much as I used to because I know she's so worried, all the weight loss and, and today I thought I just want to go home and tell them and be upfront with them about what I'm doing.
How young is your mom?
She's 80, she'll be 86 this month.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, so she's worried about you more than anything. She's not worried about her own life. She's more worried about you.
Yeah, what are you eating? And
Yeah. So
Best food ever.
yeah, but that's a little bit easier, okay? That's a little bit easier because she's concerned about you rather than.
I know. She definitely, she loves me so much, and I understand that. But on the other hand, if I were to tell my parents, look, I'm on this is Masterfest and I'm going to do this because it's saving my life. Then I think, oh no, then what she'll go into her anxiety and she'll, talk to my brothers and blah, blah, blah. And I think, I don't care. I need everybody to know so that I don't have to hide anymore.
It's not hiding. Sometimes it's best to be in silence, right? Silence is golden. And because some people they're just not going to get it and never will get it. And that's the way it is. I've been doing this for 3 decades and my mother will never get it. It's just the way it is. Never.
But she respects your space. Like, yeah, if you drive fast for like a week, she will tell you need to eat. But I remember she mentioned maybe the first day I met her. He was doing maybe a 7-day dry or something, and she's like, your intestines are gonna close on themselves, right? And I looked at her, I was like, his intestines are so happy right now. Yeah, and then I think she thought, okay, he has a crazy free friend here. But that was, I think, the first day I met her.
We all have
But
challenges.
at least, she doesn't push him. He's been doing this for 30 years, so they got used to him.
Some of us have more challenges than others, but we chug it along.
Yeah.
It takes time.
That spark of light is the only thing that I got to focus on. Nothing else.
Yeah. It takes time, Suzanne, for your family to get used to what you're doing, your new lifestyle, and for you to get used to them as well and the reactions. It's just
Yeah.
so be patient. Try to be private about things that you know they will not understand. Try to be a little bit private, not too much, but you know, if you can be on your own most of the time, then be on your own. Most of
Load
the
up on the herbs for the support, you know, just
Yeah.
the herbs going through you. Keep doing the breath work, keep using the tools, acupressure points, lots of washing. And
Oh, so much washing. In fact, this morning I got up at 2. No, it was a 1 because I could feel stuff churning in there just, and it, you know, stuff started. I was in a state, I knew I needed to do it, and I kept laying there thinking,
You
can I
look better today.
just,
You look better today than last week and
I-
the
I-
week before.
I'm good?
I wouldn't go too crazy, you know, 1 or 2 Kalimas a day is
Yeah.
more than
Yeah.
enough.
One,
An enema this morning.
Because you don't want to be over exercising the colon, you know.
Okay.
You want to give it a little bit of rest. That's why we have a dry fast, right? So you have rest.
I did 1, 2, 3 enemas before I went walking, and then when I came back, I did another enema, and then I did the colonic, I mean the colima, and I thought,
Yeah, you
oh,
need to spend most of your day
Just
washing.
that's what I'm doing. Yeah.
session a day aside for, and that's it. Don't, you know.
One Kolima a
If
day,
you
and
if you're in
that's
a day that you're really whatever you're doing, I got another one. But I like the hours between 5 and 7, the hour of the bowels.
it in the morning.
Wow.
5 to 7 a.m. is the hour of the bowels. If you can do it in that time, see if you notice any help by doing it at that time,
Okay.
Yeah.
and leave the rest of the day for all the other wonderful stuff.
You're right.
But you're looking better.
Thank you. Yeah.
You
Today's
feel
a tough day, but overall, I feel, you know, like things are starting to really move. I just love those grape lemon enemas. Oh my gosh. Nothing comes out, and then all of a sudden I'll do, you know, the grape lemon enemas, and wow, the stuff really starts to loosen a little bit, you know, like not big like what other people describe, like no raw long ropes or anything yet, but it's breaking up. It's breaking up. So yay.
Yeah, just embrace it. You know, the long digestive vacations, when you're ready, that's where you really start to strip.
Right. I know that.
You
And
have-
I have to fight myself. So I want to do more dry fast. And I think, no,
Mhm.
I'm not ready yet. I'm just not ready, you know.
I don't suggest.
I overdid, you know, before, and now I need to,
Prudence.
yes, that's right. And patience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
be patient.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brittany, what's going on with you?
Yeah.
Everybody knows what's going on with me. I'm just, I'm caught up in all my shit right now, literally.
At least you're laughing. That's a good sign.
I have to. I realize
Laughing.
I don't have a choice anymore. Like, what am I gonna do? Be like, oh, this is terrible, and like this thing happened to me, and I'm plugged up. It's like, okay, so I'm plugged up. Yeah, like, but okay.
You're
So
working on cleaning up, and that's all you have to focus on. Doesn't matter
yeah.
where you are at.
And this was a continual thing with me, and I finally realized there were a lot of emotions going on along with it. Life things, spiritual sensitivities too, but like I would go back to it was weird. I finally realized like why I got into this mess in the first place was there came a point when I realized like my liver was bad, and that I don't like saying my liver is bad. I don't like talking to it that way, but it was struggling, and then my spleen and everything. And when this got really, it's all up here. Everything's up here. And it started at some point, I don't really know where this came from, but it started when I would go into my addictions or my eating, like really bad stuff, like the worst stuff kind of. And like
Why do
it
you
would,
why do you choose to keep doing that?
that's what I was asking myself the other day, because it's like I had stopped, and I think it was like when I would, because I'm trying to remember like where my energy goes, like when all of this happens. If I would do like an enema and stuff, and it would go in, and I would get my fluid, and so I'd go to expel, and this has been happening for a long time, even when I had started to move things. It'll kind of go in, and then I'll feel this cramping, like I have to expel, like I'm just going to release all the fluid, and then it trickles out, and then a lot of it just kind of pockets and goes to the outsides of me, like out here, and it sits there, and so I'm massaging, and I'm just laying down, and it's sloshing around like all up here, and um and then so I just lay down and I try to massage it and just allow it and just relax and breathe and just think very just delicate thoughts and just inspire and just sometimes just not think of anything and just relax into it, and it'll just stay for a long time. So then finally I'm like, okay, well, I can't do anything with it right now except just try to apply some pressure, and then I'll go to sleep and I'll wake up and it'll either have absorbed into my middle or it'll kind of have moved that way, and then I feel like really really sick, like where I walk into the kitchen and I'm with my friend and I'm going to get like my herbs, and I'm all dizzy and I can't like walk right, and all of it started with the food. That's where all this comes from. Nothing like that would ever happen if you weren't obstructing yourself in the first place. But then when I was kind of getting through it, I got to this point, and it goes back farther, I think, well, definitely than MFS. It goes back to being in the hospitals and eating all that stuff. And when I was doing okay and I kind of got rid of a lot of the parasites and realized I had so much farther to go, it was all had to do with the eating, but it also had to do with inappropriate timing, rushing things. Like I would jump into enemas. Coffee enemas used to work great for me, but then I started doing them and they would get either absorbed or I would do it at the inappropriate time or not give my body time in between. So I pretty much put my system in this just frenzy with itself and just caused all this.
I asked you, why do you keep doing it? Just for the simple.
Going back to the food, that was what I asked myself the other day, and I think it was, there is no reason. It was just then finally I come to a place where I decide like, okay, I'm done, and then I start colon washing and I get on the protocol, and I think it's this part of me that goes back and sees, I look in the mirror and I feel my body and I remember my light body, and I just I hear the parasites moving and gurgling, and I always see this like distance from like, it's almost like this form of this thing I shouldn't do, but because it's like a way of self-torture. It's like if you look at your roadmap of all the things you put into your body that weren't harmonious, you have like a blueprint of like, okay, this is where I am and this is where I'll eventually get to. That's fine, but sometimes I go at it in this like fear-based way where I'll start to make some progress, and then I think about how much progress I have to make, and then all the Herxheimer reactions I had in the past, and then when they kick in and I'm like cramping and the acids are going around, I'll
Brittany, like
yeah.
the words you keep repeating over and over, parasites and acids and this and that. Why do you focus on that stuff? It's all irrelevant in the realm of MFS. We focus on balance, and we have the tools to keep us moving in that direction. That's all we have to focus on. It's simple.
What we focus on, like, is that like we are empowered. Okay, we're not victims.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as
you're talking
thinking,
as a victim.
Yeah, you're a victim. It's like you're trapped. You're not a victim.
Yeah.
Talk to your colon, love your colon, send it love. Imagine it moving the fluids and the waste out. Start.
Yeah.
Instead of
that's where I have to go again. And I was telling
water, I'm trapping my liver and my parasites. You're just repeating that over and over again. It's just you get into a snowball effect, and then you go and plug yourself up again.
Yeah, it's like you want to focus on like your tools and then like your empowerment and where you can go forward and just fall in love with that. And I get good at that, and then something happens, but I know that like I was telling my friend yesterday, like I said, I just need to just rise up and just fall in love with the me that I'll become and the me that I am now, and just leave behind like all the tough stories and everything like that, and just look at it as like a new slate. Because I think even if there's like these obstructions or I can't get things moving from down here, if I focus on that, like how is it ever going to move? And I said to him, I was like, I feel so weird. Like, I feel like I'm this person that I never used to be, because I used to be this person that was like, if something didn't feel right, I was like, all right, well, you know what? I'm just going to like go into it, and we're going to be a warrior, and we're just going to be in this dance with it. And it's just going to be this beautiful reality. And I just had so much fire, but like calm and motivation, and just always was looking at like the excitement about getting to and being on the journey of where I was going. And I think maybe it's because when I don't feel, or even if I question too much, or when I'm not feeling like I'm in balance with the tools, then I start to get scatterbrained. And I think that's where it comes from. Sometimes I'll think to myself, because I feel, whether it was from the times of eating or things not moving through, sometimes I'll be like, when I'll drink the grape juice and I'll feel like really exhausted. It's okay to feel really tired when you drink the grape juice, right? If you haven't been moving things out yet, right?
Are you washing?
Yeah, that's what I need to focus on more than anything, because I did a coloma this morning and I put some kidney herbs in it, and I did water and a little bit of grape lemon, like probably like that much, and then the rest distilled water after the herbs. And so I lay on the column board and I put it in, and it's basically just been that I haven't passed anything like solid wise, or I just haven't really been releasing for a long time. And all of that will have to do with if you were eating or not. But so that's like related to it. But when I laid down today, I started to, I was washing, and I finally told myself, I was like, listen, like right now, don't try to take in like 3 liters and just hold it for a long time. It was just like, I was like, just let it in. And then when you feel your colon, try to release and just let it out. And from going to a colonic earlier, or the end of last week, it was like the same kind of thing where I would take like water in, and then my colon would feel like it needed to release. So I'd release, but a lot of clear water would come out. And so I would keep flushing, and then I would take a little bit more in, and then sometimes it would just get stuck and stay there, and I'd feel like dizzy.
How many days on the master fast?
What?
How many days on the master fast so far?
Since I started?
Well, like you said, you're washing your colon, nothing is coming out. How many days are you doing?
I was doing, it was like 1 day eating and then 6 days on the master fast. But my problem was that I kept, especially this week when I just got overwhelmed in a lot of ways, I just kind of like stopped for a while to like regroup myself. Just
what I'm asking is, today, right? Today you did a colima and nothing much came out, and the other day you did a colonic, nothing much came out.
Yeah, like last week.
You did the colonic. How many days into the master fast were you?
When I was into the master fast, 2 days.
2 days, and you washed your colon the first day?
Yeah, I was washing it every day when I was doing the master fast. I was washing it.
You washed the first day, the second day you did a colonic, nothing much came out. It's okay. You're blocked.
Yeah, that's what's going on.
Keep going.
Is it was that.
Yeah, you keep
What?
You keep washing your colon. That's what I do, with my clients. Especially the new clients. Some of them, a few actually, not the majority. A few people do not release anything the first colonic. Nothing. It's clear.
And my intuition makes it simple. When I really sit with myself, it tells me like, you've got the tinctures, you've got the teas, you've got the tools. But even if I go inside and make like just an herbal tea with like dandelion root and mint or whatever it is, anything I take down, my body simplifies everything, and it just tells me like you need to just keep washing because you haven't, even before starting MasterPass, when I started passing the plaque, that was like, it was it wasn't sad, it was beautiful. Like I was like, actually I was with my friend and I was like crying because I was like, oh my god, stuff is coming out of me, because it had been months. Like I was that blocked. For when I was in the hospital, I talked about parasites once, which was dumb. So I was they put me in the psych ward.
Yeah,
What's your relationship with your parents?
That's the other thing that's hurting me right now. I love my family. I love them a lot. I had a really close relationship with them, but when I was on my spiritual path, if I wasn't completely in balance, or just like, being positive, because sometimes I went through some stuff, they thought they love me and they just want me to be okay. And I want to just be back with them and build my relationship with them because we're really close. But if like, I was the person when I was attuned where I kind of brought a lot of light to the family, and then they would get motivated about a lot of stuff. But otherwise, like, it's, I think part of like my Italian ancestral, it's just the way that they live is, if we're not, releasing what doesn't serve us, and I'm just not like kind of really uppity and just bringing in like new knowledge and also just basking in our old memories together and really just kind of like bringing that light in, then they kind of get stagnant and they hoard things and like everything like that. And when it comes to whenever I was struggling and I said like I need to be fasting or cleansing, they think it's weird. Like my dad, I actually wound up, when I was doing better with my my chronic stuff and I got better, at first I was moving back from Danbury, Connecticut, and they didn't want me at home because I mentioned to my mom that I needed to be doing enemas. And she said, you're not doing enemas in my house. And so I was like, well, what I do in the privacy of my own bathroom is just like for me. And then I explained to her like how it actually helps the body. And then finally I had to be a little firm with them, but also loving. And then they allowed everything like that. But then if I wasn't doing great and stuff like that, then they just think it's kind of weird. But I know that if I'm to come back into balance and just be that radiating vibrancy and just that pleasantness, we just want to have a relationship again and everything will be fine. But I was the person that kind of, when they were struggling, was bringing positivity into their life. And when I kind of go down, then the dominoes kind of fall and everybody's kind of sad, And so our relationship right now is we talk, but it's hard. Like we don't talk all the time because until I get my self in balance, it's like
You're waiting.
I've been almost inauthentic sometimes. You know what I mean?
Waiting for something to happen is not what we share. We live it, love it every moment. All the
Okay.
challenges, all the joy, everything.
Okay, well, yeah.
We have to learn to love the whole aspects of what we're doing.
One thing I wouldn't do is I wouldn't sit down and, yes, it's great to have intuition, okay? But that's a little bit too much, in my opinion. Let it go. That's the mind. I don't think it's the intuition. You gotta be clearer inside. I feel it's a lot of mind. It's not really. Sometimes we think we're too intuitive and we can feel things, and I think sometimes it's too much.
Sometimes it's just the mind going a bunch of directions. What my intuition just says to me is like, listen, you're really constipated. You need to wash your colon and get your crap out of you.
Oh, sometimes your intuition is saying parasites. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
I think it's let it go. Let the intuition go a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, be prudent. I'm not saying to not be responsible. You're responsible for everything, but follow the protocol with like 30-year experience behind it. You don't need to use too much the brain to justify things and say, oh, but there's too much sugar in the juice. Oh, but the parasites are feeding on it. But okay, maybe you'll play, your mind will play some games with you at the beginning.
This lifestyle is not for everybody.
Once you get used to the lifestyle, then it becomes, the answers come to you. Quiet. You gotta be quiet. I mean, just like if you have a teacher, the teacher, you keep asking questions, the teacher will say, it's time to listen. Stop asking questions. It's too much. You cannot learn like this, right? It's like, yeah, a good teacher will tell you to be quiet. Really, a teacher will tell you to quiet the mind and learn, because sometimes we can be very nervous and we can
Experience
Yeah,
the best teacher.
you know.
that's what I need to work on, is to just take it in.
Are you willing to go through the experience? And most people are not. I've been at this 3 decades. No
Mhm.
matter what they say, doesn't happen.
You were on medications in the past, right? Like lots
So-
of medications, right?
Yeah, I was on a lot of them,
Yeah, they will cause anxiety and all kinds of stuff
And
that
it's
are
all
not,
gonna come
that
out.
are not true. That are not true. I see. Honestly, there's like especially people who went on like psychiatric medications.
The first time I was ever on them, I couldn't feel properly, and my anxiety went like through the roof. So it was, to be honest, when I was in the hospital, the first time they ever put me on a bunch of that stuff, and I started trying to drink water, and like these things were happening in my body, and I was like, I was kind of shocked, and so I just like let it go, and I didn't feel comfortable. And then like I started feeling suicidal. It was like, and I went up to them and I was like, I want to get out of here. Like, let me out of here. I don't want to be here. Or I just don't want to take these medicines. Don't make me take them. And they're like, well, if you're going to be here and you need to talk to somebody. And I was like, no, can I just go home? They're like, well, not unless you do the 48-hour notice. I was like, well, can I sign it? So they're like, yeah, then we need a committee to come in and review your,
Okay, the past has passed. You
all
cannot
that stuff.
right now. You don't even need to justify it.
You gotta take
It's fine.
charge.
Now you want to
You don't.
reverse the damage. Okay.
Yeah.
Now the
Yeah.
body heals itself. And to do
The
that,
other question,
you have to quiet the mind. You cannot. Don't go back to the past. Okay, you've taken them. You know, you acknowledge that you have taken stuff that really can alter your brain.
yeah.
So we know that much. I mean, there are people who are doing beautifully coming off these medications, like Kelly Kebbi, for example. What an amazing try! Like watch her Zoom. Kelly Kebbi, she got off all kinds of stuff. It took
There
her
was a time in my life too where I got better, and I had been on all of them, but then I wasn't anymore, and I was happy, and my body worked again, and it's like almost like I came through. It was better. What?
for how long?
I was on them from like 2013 all the way through early 2015, and then
For how long?
I went off them because I didn't want to be on them, and I cleaned up things with my life, and I got my bowels working, and then I felt good for 2 years. I was fine, you know, I wasn't depressed anymore.
For 2 years you felt great. You're saying?
Yeah,
And then what happened?
food happens.
No,
It was-
then you didn't do a good job.
Mm-mm.
For example, Kelly Kebbi, from what I understand, did I don't know how many years raw food. Slowly got off her medications, and then while she was, on the raw food, she finds out about the master fast, and now she knows, okay, this is the next step.
Mhm.
She joins the master fast after she got off her medications, and my goodness, the stuff that she released, pretty much a picture almost every day on her
The transformation.
on her 108 days.
Wow.
I mean, her ear changed. Her ear, the shape of her ear. She was born with a defective ear. It changed.
Nothing.
Was that the woman Kelly?
Yeah, it can be.
I followed a lot of her posts, and I was so choked up reading her story. It was magical. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was like abnormal ear.
She had a pointed ear in her family,
Yeah,
and it changed.
yeah, and her aunt did too.
How does that happen? It happens through field strength of the soul. It doesn't happen through physicality.
And she became taller as well.
Yeah.
And I need to let go of the past. And I think the thing that there's something that opened in me that hurts, where the first time in my life I was on my spiritual path, and like there's parts of me, I know that as I can cleanse and heal, these memories will come back. But when I was with my best friend, who was my spiritual teacher, and the way I transformed in those years, like both of us, we were like in our light bodies, and like my whole appearance.
Masterfast is not an ER. It's not an emergency service. Number two, Masterfast is not a place for everybody to continuously come and dump their caca. The toilet's for that. So if you're going to continue talking about your past, we're going to just say good night. You're going to have to focus on now, and that's all you can focus on, and where you want to go. Because we're kind of a little bit tired, Brittany. It's over and over and over the same thing about this, and you're blocked, and your parasites. And honestly, I don't want to hear it anymore.
Okay.
And that's all you're going to talk about. Please go find somewhere where they accept that stuff, because we are done. We are into
I have to productively
limitless realm where everything is freaking possible, and how you've all shown it. And if you don't want to buy into that, it's okay. We love you anyway.
I mean,
But
Yeah,
I
I do buy in. I do, like, I feel it, and I need to move forward. I have a question also about the pudding. If right now I need to keep washing and stuff, is it okay to still take the pudding every day? Like if I haven't had stuff moving down from here, but lower it, right? A little bit.
Be prudent, yeah.
What's that?
Just be prudent, yeah. Just lower the amount until you start getting things moving, you know. Minimum's 1 to 4 tablespoons you have. Even if you have to go down to 1 teaspoon, but we highly advise you take some every day except the dry fasting days. And it's all very clear in the protocol.
Kurt,
Brittany, can I just say
sorry.
just one thing?
Yeah.
You see, I don't know. Have you ever watched? Gina put a post up from Kervin Ray and Peter Crone. Have you watched that?
No, which one was it?
You need to watch that. It's instant healing, and it all has to do. And I mean, I see the same. Look, I do this all the time, because you see, but people are so focused and narrow into a channel, and the real thing is from my point of view, your emotional state has to be released. You haven't released your emotions. You're completely clogged up with your emotions, and that holds back all your physicality too.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying to you, watch that YouTube, Kervin Ray and Peter Crone, where Peter Crone tells you how to release emotions. You're traumatized. We're all traumatized. Go back, whatever you want to do. But what it comes down to is the simplicity of surrendering. What you don't do, and even I've heard it with Susan, with her mother, you have to surrender to the situation. Can you change what has happened 5 years ago?
You can't. No.
No, you can't. So if you can't change it now, you can't change it 5 years ago, you can't change it 20 years ago. You have to just accept that it is, because it happened, because it happened, because it happened. And
it's supposed to happen.
That's how it's supposed to happen. And that's what I'm saying. Watch that thing, and you will find the answer to all your questions in learning to surrender to your emotions, or let the emotions surrender out of you. You have to let them come in. You have to be aware of them. Then you have to feel it, and then you have to let them go. And that's it. And once you have that little trick worked out for yourself, you will be a completely different person. Trust me. You watch that, and you then try to just figure out for yourself. You don't need a psychiatrist. You don't need to be in a psychic ward. You don't need tablets. All you need, how do I surrender to myself? And once you get that right, once you honestly deal with that inside yourself, then even you will then find that a lot of stuff comes out. When I watch just that Kervin Ray post, straight away, a situation that when I was a little boy, I did something wrong. It came out of it and that's what happens when you work emotionally onto you. And that more happens when you then physically and emotionally work with each other. It all comes out. And you have to not regurgitate it, and you don't have to fight it. You just have to let it go. And that's what you don't do. I can't hear that. Same with Susan. Even in the age that we are, you have to learn to let go of things. And you have to learn to actually accept that it comes and that it is there. And I go further, I even look for it, not look for it, but be open to it, because then so much more will actually come to you and you have the chance to let it go. And I think that's fantastic. Once you do that, you will see that you have releases that you've never had before, because then the tension inside your body goes, you see? That's where, look, Steve is working on that. That's why he's got strings, and he can knit himself a jumper out of the strings that come out of him. You know what I mean? But that is what is so important, that you can let go of that emotional ballast, obstruction, and that goes back to your childhood. That goes back to into your fetus. That goes back to your ancestors. You choose the realm that you want to be in, but let it happen and then let it go out, because then you're not. Because and Gino's right, when you recycle, when you're in the storm in a teacup, you're going around and around and around and around and around and around and around. Pour it out. Gone. Let it go.
We're here to shake you up, to make you ready.
And it's not negative. It's honestly, but I really feel you're completely emotionally clogged.
Yeah.
That's why I asked about her relationship with her parents.
And that's, and I hope like I can clarify, because like with them, that was like part of it. That was part of it. And I think that with because that's what I remember, is always just being present with the light and the shadow of the emotions. And sometimes I'd even play music and just let it in and dance with it and then cast it out. And somewhere I started giving my power away, but then I was like, okay, well, then take it back. And the only reason I brought up that time from years ago with my friend was because I saw miracles happen. I saw the whole body change. And when I encountered Masterfast, I started to see like, wow, this is that same reality. Just, you know, it's the reality of the realms. And it almost brought that time back into my heart, you know, in a way. And that's kind of what brought it up.
You see, Brittany, even you don't have to justify it, or you don't have to, you just got to let it.
Yeah, just
accept it. Accept it. Hey, it's exactly the way it is, and it's supposed to happen that way, and it is what it is. Let it just happen and go. And I think that once you get the hang of that, honestly, things will completely change in you. Completely change. Yeah. Even from a physical. See, I had the same too. I have to, and we all have to relieve and release issues that are in us. As current as today, you have to deal with, and not deal, but let it, as I said, come to you, feel it, go completely through it. And once that feels done,
we have all the tools available in this realm. You don't have to go to no fancy specialist, or you have a retreat. We have all the tools.
All the tools.
The only thing is, you need to be ready. Change. That's it.
And sometimes you see, you have to, as I said, and that's what I like, because see, Gina puts stuff up. When you hear other opinions or the other way, sometimes somebody else makes you click, you know. I understand that we need that. One person doesn't know everything and all this. That's why this family is here, that we can share this stuff, you know. And that it may click for some, click for this, click for that. I think that's, but think about it. If you're never ready to let it happen, then it will never happen. So it's the readiness. And I think that readiness comes a lot of times through the physicality, that people are ready. I need to change. I'm clogged up, or I have this sickness, or people have, are life-threatening situations. Then they're easy, then they're willing to change. Only then, you see. And sometimes some people emotionally, they go first spiritually completely into realms, and then they all of a sudden feel that the body is holding me back, and I need to balance things out. You can't be spiritually that high up and your body is up to shit down the gurgle. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's what it was for me. For me, it was the where my lifestyle and my life like literally gave me such a scare, where it said to me like, you need to change now, or you might not make it.
And as I'm saying, don't force it upon you. And when you have physically, as you're trying desperately to wash this out. The more you try that, the less it will happen. Until you relieve your emotions. Your emotions at the moment is like a big plug.
Yeah.
Let the plug out.
Yeah.
Let it go out, and you will find then things balance out. And that all needs time to it. You know, it has different ways of doing it. But honestly, please go and deal with your, like, as I said, find a way of dealing with it. And that video really shows. And then meet Crone, I mean, watch some of the Peter Crone stuff. He's a real guru on that, how to relieve, you know. It is repetitive, and that's what people have to understand. It's like MFS. Releasing and surrendering yourself is a repetitive motion that you have to go through. But you have to have, and that's where you find your own pattern. And I think everybody has their own little fine pattern to then relieve the emotional, that traumatized stuff that sits in us. You do that, and you'll be talking differently to us. 100%, Britton. Guaranteed. Simple as that.
You know, from way back, we kept talking about emotion is seed. Very few really understand what that means. Once you start comprehending that, you'll see the physicality in a whole different way. But we can work with the physicality to get to the emotion. And this is the beauty, and this is the power behind master fasting, because everything out there is the other way around. They're trying to work on the emotion, you know.
Yeah.
We have a simple way to work through the physicality. Yeah, it could be done the other way, but I've seen very few and far between doing it that way. And I haven't seen lasting effects, honestly. But when you make a lifestyle and you choose to work on removing obstructions continuously in every aspect, everything comes to balance eventually. And it's not, you reach a destination. You get to a point where everything's in a beautiful, elegant dance flowing. There's nothing extreme exaggerations anymore. It just comes into that beautiful flow, and it's a continual balancing act to stay in that beautiful flow. It's never going to be you reach your balance and done. There's nothing in the universe that's stagnant. Everything's dynamic and continuously flowing.
It can take time. It can take time.
Yeah, 3, 5, 10 years. Who cares? It's a lifetime. This is the lifestyle.
So work on your lifestyle for 6 months. Have a plan and go for it. Don't push. Just because you don't know how to eat. You don't know how to eat. You think after a long fast you're gonna know how to eat? No, I'm telling you, it's gonna be harder. Learn how to eat today and fast, and eat and fast, and eat and fast. Eat clean and minimal.
There's people, listen to the interviews, that were in your state and worse, and they've overcome it and are living and loving it.
It's all possible. And I also recall just experiencing, like, whenever you release or when your body changes in that way, it's like you're a different emotional print in those times. It's like, it's always like that, and it's just the most beautiful thing. And I think the one really good point I did get to at one point, I remember I would have wished in that time that I had encountered this path, because I was like, now where do I go? I don't know what to do now. And now it's there. It's like the patterns are there.
A lot of information is laid out for everybody easily. Kurt has something to say.
Yeah, just to kind of build on what you were saying. One thing I did is made an agreement is whenever, like, I'll have thoughts, oh, I'm going to post this on MasterFast, or I'm going to ask Gino, or I'm having challenges, and I get in the head spin. And I just said, you know what? I'm only going to try to post things that are positive, or a positive perspective on it, or simple things, right? Because when you're purging emotionally and physically, and you start trusting your mind in those moments, it's delusional. And one thing I always have to do is not always trust my own thoughts, because honestly, 80% of the time they're not accurate. Like, even now, like, I have thoughts, oh, don't go on the call, you're too imbalanced, you need to be more balanced. And I said, no, I'm just going to keep showing up. And I listen to people, and it's like, oh, I'm in my own head, and I think I'm the only one who has problems, you know? And then you listen, and you're like, wow, I'm not alone. So one thing I want to work on is being more compassionate with myself and letting myself have challenges and being more transparent. And I just wrote a couple notes because my brain gets a little mixed. I find the paradox is things start to change when you let go of it. And then your mind will say, how do I force myself to let go? And then you resist that letting go.
Yeah.
And also I went through stuff too with like the mental health, and for me, and was labeled psychotic and all that. And for me, it was a combination of, you know, recreational drugs, a spiritual awakening, and emotional trauma. And you think in those moments that these profound spiritual experiences you're having are the truth. And one thing I see in hindsight, and I still have the tendency now, is I get ungrounded in it, in my spirituality. And I think, and I see those moments from the past where I really was taking an intellectual understanding and it wasn't grounded and rooted. And I was, you know what I mean? And it's mixed
Yeah.
in with all this emotional purging and trauma. And it's almost like a clouded spiritual understanding. So
Yeah.
I've
And like
had,
story, it's like we write it into our like subconscious, but it may not actually be. Yeah. Yeah. It may not
just,
actually be.
yeah, things I used to think were the truth. And
Yeah.
it wasn't at the time. And yeah, that's just my experience with it. I had the same stuff and it's not always the truth, you know?
Mhm.
And it can be manifest as imbalance with families and stuff when you try pushing things on people. Like I was young and I was having these awakening experiences, and it just I wasn't mature enough with the understanding to know when to contain certain things, who to say certain things to, and some of the things maybe they weren't genuine realizations. It was coming through, I don't know, an imbalanced
Oh, I fell out of
psychotic state. I don't know.
that was how I fell out of balance in the first place, was I got so enthralled with all of it, but started projecting a lot. And the part of my ego was going through a lot of things. And my friend told me at one point, she's like, plant seeds of inspiration when it feels right. She said, not forest fires, Brittany. And like, yeah, I went crazy with a lot of the projection of the information, and that affected my emotions. I like experienced it later. I know what you mean. That happens a lot.
But yeah, the main point I would say is just learning to detach when, for me, it's a lot of the time. And
Like learn to observe your minds, you know?
yeah, and sometimes the moment you start talking or thinking, you start spiraling down and you just have to be quiet and be with yourself instead of trying to talk to other people about it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Like a lot.
Yep.
One thing, Brittany, is that you have always been absolutely sweet to everyone on the page. So thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
I know
of
it's
course.
not for you what's happening, but you have always been kind and
Our mind wants us to believe we're in the worst possible situation. Nobody else can ever be able to experience how bad it is, right? And it's the monkey mind, the Luciferic intellect, all that crap. So we have to learn to tame it. Sometimes, especially when people have experienced psychiatric drugs, you have entities coming in and they're not even your own thoughts, but you believe they're yours.
Yeah.
And that's why there's
Yeah.
a lot of suicide and stuff happening with these people that are taking these things. So you have to understand that. And once you understand all that, you surrender, you let it go, and follow the lifestyle.
yeah.
Because it's going to be purged if you allow it, if you embrace it and surrender.
Yeah, understand
And trust in your soul. You trust in the soul, not the mind. The soul. The soul has no words. The soul works with fields. And as you start purging, you will understand about how the limitless realms work with fields, because there's no words to explain it. It doesn't. There's no languages. Languages are spells and they're entrapment and enslavement.
Yeah.
So the less we say, the more we'll understand. Especially when you're in a long digestive vacation, and that comes with time. You don't have to think about that now. It could be in 6 months, could be in a year, could be in 2 years before you decide, I'm ready to do 108 days now. I've mastered fasting and eating for all this time, and I want to do a long digestive vacation. And that's really where, you know, the people should direct themselves. There's still a few people, you know, they want to jump in and do a long digestive vacation, even though so many people have been struggling after their 108 days because they've taken it as an event instead of a lifestyle, and that's the challenge, because nobody listened to what we said. This is a lifestyle. Nobody, very few. Few of you listen.
Yeah, the thing is, yeah, most of us didn't know what we were getting into with the long fast, and now we learned the hard way. And
I've been doing this 3 decades, and people are blasting me and everything. I'm going,
now we
I
tell
know,
the
man,
new-
this is the way
Yeah,
it is. It's
so-
part of the journey. You know, it's just
So
keep going.
We tell the new people, it's you might think it's easy, but it's not.
Keep going.
Yeah, it's not.
Keep
It's
And I
going.
remember with like the words too, my like teacher and I, like with the tones, like with the Hertz tones, is like once the light field is activated and things are pure, like English doesn't make sense. Like it like in ways it can communicate something, but it's more like the chakras are all tied to like tones, and the music of the spheres is what the actual language is, and silence, you know?
Tones is a proper word. I wouldn't use hertz or frequencies.
Yeah.
They're limited matter state.
And she yelled at me once. She said, if you want to go ahead and talk in English about all this stuff, that's fine, but I'm not here for that. And like, anyway, there's one last thing that I thought, it was from time back. They had scheduled way back a colonoscopy that I'm supposed to have. And they want me to take the prep and laxatives as well to like try to clean out. And I just wanted to ask you about that. Part of me saying don't do that, like don't even do the procedure, but should
I wouldn't do it.
yeah, something
What
in me
what they
don't
gonna
even do that. Like what are they going to do anyway? And don't even go down that path. Like
What's
don't
it
do it.
gonna do for you? There's people that actually die through that procedure.
Yeah, that's what I was saying to my friend. I was like, no, you can die on the operating table. I don't really want anesthesia in my body anymore. And the magnesium citrate has all this like crap in it too, like all that stuff, you know?
And
So
that is the least of the problems.
yeah. And so I was nervous about that. I said like, well, especially if you're in a weakened or more obstructive state, like that is a dangerous thing to go through right now.
Yeah, people die from anesthesia. I don't remember the percentage. It's low, but it happens. People die from the procedure, and they perforate the colon. This and
We
that.
can't tell you what to do,
Yeah, do whatever.
but
do
we
whatever you
tell
like.
you what we would do.
I wouldn't do it.
I
I
would.
never see no point in it.
Yeah.
If you have the understanding, most of us have been brought up through an obstructive lifestyle, through diet and emotions and et cetera, environments. So do you think the colon's going to be in a state, a natural state? Absolutely not.
No.
Was it Dr. Kellogg's who was way back in the early 1900s, like he did 20,000 operations on colons and stuff? He said he'd never seen a normal one. What does that tell you?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you think your colon's going to be normal? You
No.
live and love it. Believe me, your colon will go back to where it's supposed to be. I'm back to blueprint. Like that, we have no doubt. Everybody has super bowels after a long digestive
Yeah,
vacation.
it's very.
It gets
Yeah.
transformed, and everything that's not supposed to be there gets ejected because there are obstructions, and it's
Yeah.
working beautifully again.
Yeah.
Pretty much every single person, I think I can remember one, still had a challenge after 108 days, and all that means is you got to do a lot more work. If you can't have proper bowel movements after 108 days, you got to do a lot more work. That's all that is there. It's so 108 days is a good start. 9 years is a good start. 9 years, 9-year cycle. You know, people think it's a 7-year cycle. Physicality is a 9-year cycle, not a 7-year.
But don't do 108.
No.
Yeah.
Bringing on that, I mean, I can tell you now, like, I've lost my father when he was 52 to cancers, as well as my uncles. They all died of cancers. And so I see, when you're in that frame of mind, it's the same thing. What answers are you looking for? You know, like I had, I don't know, 3 or 4 colonoscopies in the earlier stage because I went to a doctor and said, oh, yeah, da, da, da. And that's then the state of mind that you're in. So then what answers do you expect? Is that, then you have polyps and you have all the other stuff and this and that. It's then you're in that state of mind, then yes, if you think that way, it will happen that way. You see?
Yeah, and you'll manifest it further. And they wouldn't even get to the root of what causes those things anyway, because they don't do that, you know?
And then you can see we're on the other side of it here, where you liberate yourself of that paradigm.
Paradigm, yeah. Like,
and get another paradigm in, and live by the paradigm, and then feel the paradigm. And that's what, when you have clean bowels, you know you have clean bowels because you know yourself. And that's the way. It's then the work that you do to get to do a clean bowels. Then you don't need a blood test. You don't need a colonoscopy.
Any of it.
That's really what it comes down to. You see. But that's work that has to be done, that you have to physically and emotionally, and we just talked about that emotionally, and I just want to add on to that emotional. See, for me, you know where my emotional tool is? Dry fasting. When I dry fast, the release of emotions is so profound that I have to hold myself back. See, I have not done in this group, and I'm nearly for nearly 3 years, I haven't done more than 3 days of dry fasting. Why? Because it's too much.
You get intense. It gets intense.
Emotionally, you know what I mean? Not the physical side, it's the emotional side that I struggle with. So I need to temper, and that's my sort of, see, the way I work that tool. Dry fasting is a tool that you have. And that's the tool that I work to. And when I see this is going, whoa, just hold your horses, honey. No need to go and gallop into this. Take it step by step by step. Let release happen, let release happen. Because otherwise, if you have the floodgate open, mate, it just flattens you, bang, gone, gonski. And that's something that I know. I did that. Like that was in April February, March 2018. And I tried to get, you know, the dry fasting and crank it. No, not for me. Look at everybody, and that's what I'm saying. Everybody needs to learn that and needs to judge within. Can I do this? Can I don't do this? And so on and so on. You know, and work with the experience that you have, and then work with that. You see, use that, build your backbone with that. And that's when I know when I dry fast, to me, this is what is coming next to me, what is coming out, what is waiting there for me, you know what I mean? And that's nice because I like it. But as I said, I can't, if I go 5 days or even further, yes, I will. But as we say, I have time on my side. I don't have to force the issue. Keep working with it. And once you see, that's when you then know, okay, now let's try go a bit further on that, and so on and so on. You have to feel balanced, you see, and that's where then the struggle is, physically, mentally, but the answer sits in the soul, you see, that's where the answers are. And that's really something that you have to see. And then go, you know, try to balance everything out and go on a higher reel. That's what I do, balance out and then try to get the next level, get to the next, and so on and so on and so on. And that's time. It's time you need for that. And awareness and right attitude, like thinking, you know what I mean, paradigm. That's what I'm saying. Colonoscopy, yeah, what do you want to find out? That you're full of polyps, and then what are you going to do about it?
And even like years back, I grew up on thyroid medicine, and then when I went on my own path, I didn't want to do any of that anymore. And my family they're constantly afraid of like everything. So they wanted to keep taking me back for blood work over and over and over. And my levels, they would be normal, and then they'd go up. My TSH would go up a little, and then they're like, it's going to keep going up. It's going to keep going up. I was like, I don't think I'm concerned about it. And then it would go back down. They're like, how is this happening? And I'm like, because you're taking a little bit of blood and you're trying to measure the totality of my being and all the thoughts and energies. And everything that is part of my blueprint in one snapshot of a moment, and you're never going to be able to do it, guys. Like, and so yeah,
But see how that even emotionally is actually blocking you then? You know what I mean? Because that fear, that it's the fear that and it's fabricated, the fear. The fear is fabricated into you. And that you need to understand and say, okay, let it happen and let it go out again and move on with what you're going to do. You know, like that's really what it comes down to, because it'll constant, because see, as you said, you love your family and you want to be your family and so on and so on. That is great. But you can see that the fear, the fabricated fear that they try to push into you, still let it come. Even if you say, oh no, I'm not listening, but you do, you take it in. And that needs to be taken in, needs to be felt through, and needs to be released all the time, continuously. Because if you don't do that, it'll obstruct.
Yeah. And the other question, the last thing I had a question for you guys about is like, wherever I am, whether it's there, or even like where I am now, it's like if you're living with other people, and the energies get like in ways or dissonant or whatever, sometimes it's hard for me, because sometimes more than anything, because I don't have my own place right now, like I don't have that, but sometimes I just want to be with myself. Like I just want to be by myself and connect with my soul, and I get rattled by things. So I just like wonder like what the best thing for me to do in those situations is, like, you know,
you want
if
to
the
be
energy
home. You want to have a
doesn't feel right, if things don't feel right.
Go in nature as much as you can.
Yeah.
It's your home too, like your home. That's where you rest. You want to have a comfortable place to live. If you can move.
And I think that's what I struggle with the most right now, is that
parents.
I don't feel happy. Like I liked being with them. I would want to go back there, but right now with my lifestyle and everything, they say until I'm completely better physically or whatever, they say that they don't. And I was doing an enema once and my mom didn't want me to do it in the house, or they have these really, really, really rigid like ways about things that make it hard, but I would be there.
Can you afford to be on your own?
What?
Can you afford to be on your own?
There's after I left the hospital, they put me into a place with 2 other people, and
that's where you are right now?
No, I was there, and it was like coming out of they put me on disability, which honestly a lot of things in my life that I'm not like very proud of, but they were taking it out of that, and I was there for a while, and I would always clean everything. I lived with 2 other people, and the house was like always a disaster and a mess, and I was always cleaning it and fixing everything. Kind of, I call it making the bathroom and the living room sing, and then they would mess it up like days later and have stuff everywhere. So it was just, and then I met a friend who said, come stay with me, and that's where I am now.
What about right now?
I'm with a friend now that I met, and was like, hey, come stay with me, and like I'll help you out and everything like that. Because I didn't, and so I'm that's where I am now, is I'm with a couple of friends. Sorry?
Are you comfortable there?
Yeah, but like not entirely.
Yeah, Brittany, I can give you an inspiration on that. You know, like the Indians, the Red Indians, they got taken all the land off them and all this and all that. And one of the guys, John Mohawk, he wrote once that he went to a tribe in the Great Plains. There was nothing there. They were in absolute the driest zone that could be, no trees, gravel everywhere. And then he sat with the Indians, and they brought that place alive. They made the place alive.
Yeah,
that's
what it could be. That's what it can be. That's when it feels harmonious. It has to do with the beings, the people, the energy they're bringing, the spirit of it. It's like a whole environment can be a whole other world depending on what energy is being sung there.
But you see, that's correct, and that's what I'm saying to you. But you have to generate that in yourself. This is the realms that we're talking about. You can elevate yourself. You can sit in a room with complete strangers and complete assholes, and you be in your own world. You see, you make your world, you bring your world alive. Your realms is your work to be done. if you, and as I'm saying, when you see that these Hopi Indians, they had the place completely alive. They had celebrating, they were happy, they had nothing to eat, they were alive like nobody else. And that's something that you can cherish and say, how about if I do that by myself? Read all the Holocaust stories where people were so imaginative, lived in realms to get through this, you know what I mean? Because what you want to do is you want to shield yourself off it, and you want to, I mean, not that the people are negative that you live in or whatever, and so on and so on, but as I said, if you want to make your place become alive, then it's up to you to do so. For that, you need to, as I said, be in connection with source, in connection with the realms. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing with MFS. You're in the realms. You try to work on the realms and lift yourself. Then doesn't matter where you're at.
Wherever you are, yeah.
The birds are singing.
That's what I remember. Everywhere you go, it's almost like you're in this little ball of like just warm energy, and you're just like, you're almost like spacing out, but then like so present at the same time. It's just beautiful.
As you raise your field strength, you create your reality and your environments that you choose. That's what the angels did. It was just explained.
Thank you.
Nature.
Yeah. I mean, it can be, it's a change, right? Like you really have to change for that. And you're changing a lot of things, I guess. It can be tough, you know, like it can be tough. Like if you put someone starting the Master Fast lifestyle in a home that is not, you know, that is negative, but where you are is tolerable, you know, like it's not bad, so you can manage that. I understand if it's a very difficult place.
You have your own bathroom?
That would be different.
No, a shared one, but there's one like upstairs.
You have times that you can use it, no problem. No.
Yeah.
Being
That's one. There's definitely enough time to do like the kalamas and like meditation and stuff.
What you can do is spend more time by yourself. You don't have to be all the time.
Yeah.
Right? So tell your friend, I really want to be on my own for a bit, you know, for some time.
And that's always when I communicate, that's like always respected.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So put boundaries, you know, you love your friend. There's no question about it. It's just you have to.
And there's like another like kind of like link to me in like a deeper way that like it doesn't like feel right for me and stuff. So sometimes there's like, I feel just if this makes sense to say, like I feel the projections like about that, and it kind of feels like suffocating a little bit to me, you know, because I don't feel like that way in that same way. But you know, you just communicate and it's okay.
Yeah. You see, that's again just the same where you then work on the emotional side, you know, and even confront yourself with that and let it come to you, and then deal with it. You see, if we as humans would deal with the problems when they arise immediately, we would have very little problems in this world.
Yeah.
What we're doing is we're just pushing it away, and we just don't want to deal with it immediately. But if we could deal with every single problem we have immediately, we'd hardly have any problems. We'd hardly have any conflicts. But we don't do that. And that's where can you start?
Within.
First.
Always within.
Always the same. You start by yourself and do this. And in particular, when it comes inside yourself, the issues that you have, do that first. Deal with it immediately now. Not let it push off. Deal with it now. And that's when you have little bridges you make for yourself, when you have that surrender. The technique of surrendering on an instant moment. That you let it come, you get it in, and you let it go out. So that you mean, I even try that now in traffic, you know, when I'm in the car, you know how easy it is to get completely mad in the car when you drive, and I just try really instant surrender to the situation, all right? But that also has a bit to do with preparing yourself before you go, and so on and so on and so on. And that's what I'm saying. When I read, and that to me, when they brought the place alive, where there was nothing, it was just there, and where they could see things that they weren't existing. That is what it comes down to. That is available. Think about that. It's available to us through the lifestyle. Let's make it happen and not procrastinate. You know what I mean? Like that's where a lot of times it's just we procrastinate for far too long over the same thing. What for?
Yeah, by the way,
Yeah.
By the way, Brittany, each and every single person you see here is going through challenges.
Yeah.
Do we dwell on them? Do we talk about them nonstop? No,
No.
we can. But
A little blurbs here and there, okay? Get
yeah,
over
a
it.
few things, yeah, a small challenge, okay, yeah, I learned my lesson, yeah.
But it's draining to do it too much, to do
I mean,
that.
there are other things, you know, I would, I know I have to work on emotionally, but like it has to do with maybe family, things that I keep repeating. You know, in my head, I'm like, let it go. And you know, but I observe it, you know. It's very interesting. Some things are, you know, stick with us, and you want to learn how to let it go. And I feel when we drive fast, like Hans Peter was saying, what happens is, of course, at the beginning, it's harder to drive fast, but once you get used to them, I feel it helps me just be quiet, humble. You know, it helps me, you know, like see how little I am. You know, I shouldn't be talking too much. You know, I should be learning. This is how it makes me feel. You know, I feel, and the dry, I feel like, okay, like this world is
Small piece.
yeah, like I just be quiet and
There's so many tools. Are you doing breath work daily?
Here and there. I need to do more though. I need to do it.
that
The
helps.
tools are all there. There's many tools that are available.
Yeah, for you.
I need to do it like anyway. Sometimes it's hard to breathe like into my belly like I used to because you know, if you're blocked, you don't really feel the air all go through, but you still need to do it. Like you still have to be
Buteco is
incorporating all the tools.
you're doing
All
low volume breathing.
what?
With Buteco, we're doing low volume breathing.
Yeah, so I learned the Buteco. It's nice.
Very small
Very
amounts of
powerful.
air.
Very powerful.
Oh, that's beautiful because something came to my mind about that once and it was some like yogic place I was at and they're like, you never do anything like little or shallow. And like, but sometimes you need that. Like that makes sense. I have to read it.
Not from the Vedics.
What?
Corrupted.
What?
The Vedics knew the less you breathe, the longer you live. The old
Wow! Oh my God! So
thousands
okay.
of years.
Yeah. It's
Wow. Okay. Sorry.
the less you breathe, the more you love.
It's nasal breathing. Look up Buteco breathing. We have links in the tools. So
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a good one for the nervous system. It really calms you down.
if you have anxiety, there's a technique to help you take the anxiety or whatever. And it's gonna feel like you're suffocating maybe for a few months.
I feel like, you know, I mean, I can sometimes talk about my issues nonstop if I open up, okay? And it's horrible. It's really horrible sometimes, you know, for me to think about it when I do that. I want to learn to not talk about them. Some things, you know, health is like, I don't talk about it much, you know, but some other things, everybody has an emotional thing that they can talk about nonstop. I think many of us. And for me, it has to do with my family. I love them. I will never stop loving them. I love them, and I will always see them and be there for them, no matter how mean we can be to each other sometimes. Yeah, so I feel for you, it's like it has a lot to do with the health. It's like there's a blockage that you keep repeating, how like your colon is obstructed, how your liver, and then you're feeling things and intuition and in the middle, and the parasites, and trying to explain everything in your brain.
It's all an illusion.
Yeah. So
Nightmare.
How do we do this? You know, like you want to let go of that health, you know, emotional turmoil, you know?
That's how we create hell.
Yeah, we have to learn. We have to learn to be in peace with every single thing in our lives. That's a big one for you. So you want to work on it.
Uros, if you see me talking much, you can know I'm out of balance.
Mhm. Yeah, complaining about something, right? Usually, right? If we complain too much,
We all complain here and there. Just surrender to it and let it flow, and that's all fine and dandy. You know, it's all good.
yeah.
We're up to the 3-hour mark. My goodness.
That was a good
3 hour
session for
Wednesday.
everyone.
When we are in our heads, we are behind enemy lines.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, it's the more we share, the more I see people are able to let go and surrender and find more balance. The more we hold on, it's just obstructions. You know, there's some people who, you know, they don't want to share anything. They're doing their master fast and
And they're doing it wrong.
and then they send me private messages. They're having challenges. Go on
Yeah,
the board.
I'm not doing my animal.
Go on the board. Start sharing. I can't help you. I can't help you. You know, there's no super rah event that's going to change your life. You know, it's
Yeah, yesterday I met
because you're going to have to go back home with yourself.
yesterday I met a Masterfast client for the first time, and he's not doing them. He's not washing his car. I think day 6, maybe day 7 yesterday. Yeah. He's a friend of yours, actually. I didn't tell you. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, he comes here, I think, sometimes. I don't know. He's not here today. I haven't seen him ever here, but apparently he comes to the Zooms. Amazing guy. Just the truth is, many people do not know. They're reading, but they're still confused. So please come here, share, be with us. Let's do it right and be, you know, safe and efficient as well.
Well, some people believe they know better. So.
No, it's just sometimes confusion. Sometimes people are confused. Some people think they know better. We have told them not to do stuff and they did them and they got in trouble. After 2 months, they come back and they're like, oh, well, I told you 2 months ago not to do that. How many times do you have to say something? So it's clear in the protocol.
So let's let me end the recording here, and we thank everybody. It's been a blast.
Thank you, guys.
We will see you back on the page, and see you next week and whatever.
Thank you so much. We learned a lot from everyone today. Thank you.
Awesome. Keep that plaf
Thank you.
flowing.
See you guys.
Ciao.
Thank you.